right, we are live. Live.
Woo.
How are you doing?
I'm up on a Saturday afternoon.
Did you run?
No,
No? Okay.
I set my alarm clock to run 6 miles. I ran 0 miles
Amazing.
because
Okay.
I went back to sleep.
Well, if you're watching this stream uh, after it has concluded, we still salute you. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. We do appreciate you. Oh boy, it's been quite a year, hasn't it been?
Yeah, this is a nice different live stream compared to others. Hello, Kratos. Since there's no more MMA events for 2023,
Yeah, pretty much.
we have to wait 2 weeks for the next one. 'Cause I don't think there's an event next Saturday either.
Yes, yeah. So we're
Have to
we're
wait
we're looking to cook up.
at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're looking to cook up a couple of uh well, this show and another one. It's just yet to be determined.
Hmm.
But we wanted to bring something to you guys today because I found something that was hey Dan. Dan walked in the door
Good afternoon, Dan.
on some real shit. Dan
Well,
is
thank
like,
you, sir.
yo.
Now you need to put the ticker.
Yeah.
Oh no, we didn't set up the ticker for
Yeah, we just set up the ticker
this
yet.
special
Um
live stream, which is
yeah, exactly.
we're not eating ice cream now.
Uh let's try this.
There we go. Just fixing up the ticker real quick.
Yeah, let's just do it like this.
All right.
Oh,
And then,
yeah,
yep,
of course.
gotta put- Yep, pipe, pipe. There,
Yeah, do
pipe,
you like that pipe?
pipe, pipe.
Okay.
Finish typing.
Yep. So, yeah, there we go. Oh, wait.
Hold on. We're almost there. Let's go to
Psych.
Strava.
Okay.
We forgot a button.
Psych.
There we go.
Psych.
Yay! We have things
I
put
left
together.
Twitter because some person cried wolf.
Oh.
Well, I left Twitter because it sucks. In fact, I just got my invitation to, I think it's called Blue Sky.
I've never heard of it.
The people who made Twitter after Elon destroyed the platform said, well, you just go and make another similar platform.
Right.
I haven't like really used it, but I wanted to make sure I got my name in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I don't use that thing. I
Yeah.
go through it so I can interact with MMA things, which is really just hitting hard on it, or so I could get my MMA news. Yes, it's a very secure place to get. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, it's
You're showing me the app now. I like the butterfly versus the. Yeah, there are a lot of bots. Like if there's actually a tweet that I'm interested in, I go and click on the to see the comments. It's all bullshit that has nothing to do with the actual post.
And of course, the groomer himself is the first guy that pops up on my screen. Anyway, it reminds me of this one. I forget what. Oh yeah, so Captain Paul used to know Sneeko. You know, Sneeko blew up to be like, super popular and unpopular at the same time, you know? And he made a video. That was that one that got like 280,000 views, where he was just like, this is really disappointing. I knew him before you guys knew him. He wasn't like this, etc., etc. And some of the responses that we got, Captain Paul was like, dude, you're a bot. And then he was like, you're a bot. You're a bot. So now that I see that now, anytime I see that, I think of Captain Paul.
Can you pass me a pen real quick, babe, before we continue?
You can grab the pen that's in the tissue box in the bedroom. It writes really good now. And the pad is there too. Just don't write on the same pad where I'm writing my notes on the same pad page.
You know, I write everywhere. I was about to write on that envelope that's right there.
Yeah, you're annoying. Oh, now you're sounding like the other one. Great. Okay. So anyway, we were like really struggling to come up with a concept that we thought would be, really worth it. And it's like, well, we could ask the viewers, what their favorite MMA moments were. But it's like, it's been an entire year, and who's who's really gonna remember all the shit that happened, right?
We have a message for you from Dan. He says,
"Oh, no, you don't have to be on camera. You can just read.
You gonna read it real quick,
or you can log into the stream and see it for yourself." Yeah,
she is shyly creeping over. You're such a weirdo. You see it?
She's trying to tempt me.
He says, "Happy New Year." She's smiling really wide.
She really is trying to get me to grab the camera and just go whoop.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Thanks, Dan, man. First of all, we're not here without you guys, and what the hell is that?
Notes for myself.
Ah.
Remember that's post-show stuff. Continue with your thoughts, sir.
Okay. Whatever. Yeah, Cap has really been doing the damn thing. Shout out to Cap. He never shows up on Saturdays. Oh, Dan says we can see her reflection in the screen.
I didn't want to tell her that. You see her there? You saw her sneaking. She can't hear us now.
Anyway.
But yeah, Cap has been putting out some.
Yeah, Cap has been doing the damn thing. Shout out to Cap.
He's on a roll, which is good.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
But yeah, we wanted to kind of get you guys we wanted to get you guys something that will kind of help jog our memory. So anybody that is trying to embarrass anybody who's trying to embarrass Dana White, I'm already kind of like, okay, let's see what you got. But this is the first video that I've ever seen from this content creator, Napoleon Blown Apart. Anybody heard of him? Any of you guys heard of him in these YouTube MMA streets?
Hey,
JL.
Good morning.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, y'all. Thank you.
Okay. I have to say the few German words I know.
Or you can just not say the few German words that you know.
I'm going to say the few German words.
Guys.
I will say more. Jeremy, good morning.
What's up, man? What's up? Oh, so yeah, JL has heard of him. All right. That's good.
Yeah.
So
much that happened in the past year. Like when I was trying to think of my favorite fights, or just what the heck happened past a month ago, I needed to rewatch stuff. There's no way I was going to remember all that.
Yeah. So, we'll figure that instead we are going to
you can shift it here. Oh no, not that one. Oops. We practiced this.
Yeah, we actually did. Oh, I just I pressed every different button except for the proper button.
Melted
3M, what's up, man?
Happy New Year.
What up, man? It's good to see you.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
You know, before we get in all of this, right? I'm gonna say something to the Jeremy Lewises, the 3Ms, and the Dan Jensens of the world. I really salute you guys. When me and Captain Paul made this platform, my vision was to talk to a bunch of people that I did not necessarily agree with, but still create community with. And, you know, there's Lutch, there's 3M, there's Jeremy, there's Dan. You know, there's a bunch of stuff that we don't really agree on all that much. And we have still created community, which is exactly the vision that I had when, well, you already know. You already know. I really wanted to create a community and prove that we can have people that have differing opinions on various hot button issues and still create community and show respect to each other and voluntarily wanting to be around each other. And, you know, we'll find something to bond over. If not our socio-political opposition. And so I really do want to thank every single one of you guys, especially the guys that, you guys have your own beliefs, you guys have your own thing, but you still rock with TSP. And I really do want to appreciate, to express appreciation for you guys, to you guys. Okay, I'm going to hit the right button again. So, we're going to get into...
We are bonding over violence.
Oh, shit. So... Okay.
Well, friends, it's that time of year again. A time of joy.
No.
A time for spending with friends and family. Exchanging presents. Drinking a little too much. A time for love and happiness. A time of cold. A time of lengthening shadow. Of a claustrophobic gloom that clings to every corner, even as the pale sun illuminates your room. The skeletal fingers of once vibrant trees scratching at your window pane. A wind whimpering about the house. Please, please let me in. A time of death. A time of renewal through sacrifice. A time when gods and monsters once walked this land. Not the gods you know, the ones to whom we offer platitudes hollow. The old gods. Crom-Cruach, Don, Morrigan. Their appetites are only sated through blood this eventide. Blood to rouse the spring, that it may return its days of rustling shade. And just over the horizon, a great machine of death is roaring and rearing. We can hear it always. Earthquake, starvation, the ever-renewing sun of corpse flesh.
That's pretty metal.
It's Christmas.
Did you catch that headline? Daily fisting. Stupid news. Or stupid fucks. Eat you up, worm. Eat it up, you worm. Has anyone seen this?
This is my favorite one. Chris Weidman still delusional about title shot. Despite not having a win since Obama was in office, Chris still says, I've got one title run left in me. Sure, Chris, and we've got Valentina on speed dial. Oh man, that was great, man. Oh man, that was great. See, this is why we wanted to do this stream, because I don't want to give it away, but you know, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to it.
This dude did a really good job with this newspaper headline cutouts thing. It's really good. I like this one.
Rides up on unicycle post-fight. Literal clown wins title. Mid-tier YouTuber Napoleon Bonaparte hits 100K. Yeah, he passed 100K this year apparently. So congratulations to him. I added him in the title.
Oh yeah, I saw that. And there's some other. I'll link this video after, which is hence the pad. I could actually see this happening. I'm like, if I had not watched the fight, I'd be like, yeah, no, he totally did
that. Yeah. And the thing is, he just sniped it. I'm not sure he's a beast, but he definitely is a sniper. Okay? Definitely is a sniper.
Just Bleed gang, we did it. We survived another year. Without exaggeration, and in all seriousness, in this day and age, simply making it to the finish line of another 365 days is truly something to be cherished and celebrated. And if you're here watching this, I'm glad you're with us. So without further ado, welcome to the second annual Review of the Year and Blowy Awards. A thorough retelling of the top, bottom and switch stories in the world of MMA. But first, 100% a tribute
clown sniper
to those that we lost in 2023.
Poor Jake Paul. Questioning Francis's bag carrying ability. I actually don't remember this guy, Mike Johnson. Or Jackson.
Yeah, Mike Jackson's the one that beat CM Punk in that terrible match that was CM Punk's last fight in the UFC.
So CM Punk fought twice? Because I remember... I only remember the first one.
Yeah, he fought Mickey Gall.
Yeah, Mickey Gall is the one that I remember.
Yeah.
As this is playing, and thank you again to Napoleon Bonaparte for putting this together and making our lives a little easier to do the recap of 2023. If you guys want to put your thoughts on best, worst, RIP to people's careers, put them in the chat. My enjoyment of Valentina's spitting shit. I wonder if they ever fixed his teeth.
Yeah, word up.
Oh
word
yeah,
up, yeah.
Korean zombie.
Yeah, that one hurt, man. Looks like he has scar tissue in his biceps.
R.I.P. You saw
it. Yeah.
Now you're turning into the beast. That's right.
Yeah. But this is the type of thing that, you know, this is that black exploitation.
Turn the volume real loud.
I cannot believe this actually happened.
1, 2, 3.
I can't believe that actually happened.
That's just terrible.
With bloodshot eyes and fear-laden hearts, we awoke to the pain of a new year.
Yeah.
2023
he still hasn't reached his prime yet, with now 7 straight losses.
Old when we were hit with one of the biggest news stories of the year.
I don't know.
But we weren't the only ones being hit.
But
when
Dana
White
is like begging for him to retire.
Some guerrilla marketing for Power Slap. At a Cabo nightclub on New Year's Eve, Dana had done the one thing that he himself said you don't bounce back from. Dana, however, appears to be the Lazarus of wife slapping, as it's almost 2024 and he's suffered all the consequences of running a red light in a Grand Theft Auto game. Tyron Woodley, not content with losing twice to a former Disney kid and squandering the remains of his already tattered reputation, was scheduled to fight yet another internet personality, KSI. After the fight fell through, Tyron claimed he had never been so disrespected in his life, proving that he still hasn't read the comments on any of his music videos. All things considered, it was a rough month for KSI.
Thank you for bringing this up. I was gonna say something about this. I think the guy just doesn't like Dana, so it's easy to pick on him. But I want to be very, very clear, right? The dude does show the footage. Dana White doesn't just say, "Hey, you burned my pot roast. I'm gonna slap you." What happened first?
She hit him first.
Well,
and he did the little like down.
Yeah.
Pop out.
Yeah. You know, ladies, keep your hands to yourself.
Wait, but as Napoleon Bonaparte has said, it's the perfect campaign for power slap. Dana White power slap.
Dana White power slap.
SI, as a bout with professional douchebag
I think we had enough white power over the last 12 hours or so.
And in the MMA community, there was much wailing and lamenting and gnashing of teeth at the prospect of losing such a hotly anticipated fight.
So go have your
After ghosting KSI, Dennis tried to make inroads back to MMA by telling Bellator boss Scott Coker that he was interested in a fight. Much in the same way that I'm interested in reading all 140 volumes of Baki. I'm interested, but I'm also quite confident that it's never going to happen. In some rather unfortunate timing for Dana, one day after his slap fighting home movie leaked, an expo for Power Slap took place where Power Slap athletes, or slaplites for short, discussed what it takes to become a real ultimate slapper.
Slaplites?
And I literally don't do any type of training. Like I'm my kid's man, and
he doesn't do any type of training. Therefore, he's not a
headbanging, dude. I go to a lot of concerts and I headbang all the time.
As far as the slapping is concerned, you know, hey, I look in the mirror sometimes. I'll just give myself a good whack. Sometimes I'll just put my hands down, and let them go at it. You know, hit me a good few times, you know, get that brain rattled a little bit and just feel that pressure.
The reaction to Power Slap's first episode was greeted with the kind of
what the fuck
the slapping is concerned, you know, hey, I look in the mirror sometimes and I'll just give myself a good whack. Sometimes I'll just put my hands down and let them go at it, you know, hit me a good few times, you know, get that brain rattled a little bit. And
so his technique is to get bucked up a bit first.
And
that
get concussions.
That helps him to power up for his final slap. This is all
the thing that got me. The thing that got me is like he's like, yeah, I just like to get, you know, concussions. You know?
It's the source of his power. His brain hitting his skull.
Their faces do get deformed sometimes though.
Oh, but blood. Dan wants to see his blood.
I want to see some shot at defense. How about that?
No. And even the replays and the, you know, as they're trying to promote Power Slap, it just looks boring and awful.
Just feel that pressure.
The reaction to Power Slap's first episode was greeted with the kind of abject horror normally reserved for the discovery of a mass grave. Opinions ranged from dumb as fuck to sickening, to Brendan Schaub himself describing it as the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Strong words, considering this man looks in a mirror each day.
Dicey!
In other joke news, Jake Paul announced that he was signing with the PFL, with his ultimate goal being to compete in MMA.
I've already disrupted boxing, and now it's time to disrupt MMA.
And by disrupt, he means make it objectively worse for all involved. Thankfully for us, it's almost a year since this announcement, and Jake is still about as close to competing in professional MMA as I am.
Hashtag, who's ready for camp, huh?
Jake's announcement, however, was
awful.
kind of a case of the worst person you know making a really good point, as he claimed to be fighting for increased fighter pay for all PFL athletes.
Our fighters will be receiving 50% of the revenue. Yes, you heard that correctly. A true 50-50 partnership with fighters that still allows them to be individuals and even monetize their own sponsorship deals, which, as we know, isn't allowed in the UFC.
Alleged MMA fighter Mike Jackson was released from the UFC after a career that could charitably be described as
He has
the
a
Brooklyn
tattoo
Brawler
that
of the
says
Reebok.
Black Power. How can you take him seriously?
It's very forgettable because I still don't remember him.
I mean, but
does anyone remember any of his fights other than the
well,
that I actually did not watch?
well, we're about to get to one that he had that he had in 2023. We're gonna get to that because that was yeah, God damn it.
Era. Both of Jackson's fans were said to be devastated by this news, but it does at least open up the possibility for Dana to make the grudge
Jay
match
does
of
not
the
respect him
century,
at all.
CM Punk versus Mike Jackson, in Power Slap. Dana, make it happen before Street Beefs does. The ugliest breakup since Anderson's shin met Chris Weidman rolled on into January 2023. Conor McGregor and Artem Lobov, former BFFs and two halves of power couple McLobov, found themselves in court again. Lobov was forced to cash in all those Reebok tokens he earned fighting for the UFC when a judge ordered him to pay for McGregor's legal fees after Lobov failed to secure a Twitter injunction against McGregor. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that this was genuinely tragic news, as anything that keeps McGregor
no, he
from
fought
social
again
media
after that, but he
is
threatened to fire him
unquestionably a
after
cause
that.
we should all support. In the first tremor of what would prove to be a
Wait, what was
seismic
that tweet?
issue for the
I want to see that tweet again.
the first tremor of what would
Come on, stop fucking with me.
for all of us when I say that this was genuinely tragic news, as anything that keeps McGregor
Jumping the guillotine is not a takedown. Absorbing the kick into the leg is not a check. A doctor's stoppage is not a yeah, it's a technical knockout. Yo, this guy, this motherfucker is annoying, yo. Like, if you get a cut over the eyebrow that actually grows teeth and a tongue, right? It is a technical knockout, right? There are guys that the referee stops the fight, and you're not knocked out. That's why it's called a TKO, right? Like,
not compete anymore,
right? Like all the times that Edson Barboza ended a fight with a leg kick, or Chris Gutierrez, or anybody who's ended a fight with a leg kick. How would you referee stoppage? No, it's a fucking technical knockout.
Should they have allowed Conor to continue fighting then when he broke his leg?
That would have been funny as shit.
I mean, you know, a doctor stoppage is not a TKO. They, you know, just let that shit dangle as he's trying to fight.
And it's funny because...
And then it would just fly off. I mean, eventually it would just fly off. It would, you know.
The funniest part of that is when he's sitting there on the side of the cage yelling, "Doctor, stop it! Doctor, stop it!" That's what a TKO is, man.
Like, I'm just picturing the lower part of his leg, his foot just flying across the arena, and then it's just splurting blood.
Yeah, for real.
But don't have the doctor stop it. It's not a TKO.
I mean, you know, yeah, I don't really know the whole thing with Artem Lobov, but it seems like the people who hang out with Conor tend not to like Conor in the end. So,
from social media is unquestionably a cause we should all support. In the first tremor of what would prove to be a seismic issue for the UFC, Dana White revealed that UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou was no longer UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. After Francis refused to fight for Venom coupons and the change Dana found behind the UFC's couch, Dana told Francis to get the fuck out of his office and company and go have a celebrity boxing match with Mr. Beast or whatever the fuck.
I think Francis is in a place right now where he doesn't want to take a lot of risk. feels like he's in a good position where he could fight lesser opponents and make more money. So we're gonna let it.
Well, here's the thing, Dana. Here's the thing, Dana. Okay. If he can make more money fighting lesser opponents, does that reflect well on you, or does that reflect poorly on him? Would you like to get your brains beat in for peanuts? Or would you like to do some mashing for Lamborghini money?
Lambo.
Or
unless they're honey roasted.
Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce Cullinan money. Would you like to risk your life for less money or more money?
Yeah.
Yep. So here's the thing, man. Dana, you don't sound good in any of this.
Let him do that.
Speculation was rife among internet fight experts. Would Francis ever get another payday like Uncle Dana was offering? Was he a big enough name to command that kind of money? Shouldn't he just have been content with the Venom coupons? Had he?
I mean, he dragon punched to shut a horseman. He was already going to be.
He's got it in his head that there's bigger opportunities outside the UFC with lesser opponents.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device in which suggestions or warnings about events to come are dropped or planted.
Jamal Hill won the vacant light heavyweight title at UFC 283 after putting on a clinic against Glover Teixeira. Teixeira, a legend of the sport who had previously been the oldest man to ever become a champion at age 42.
I think most fighters, Dan, want to make some fucking money.
The event was held in Brazil. And after the co-main event, which saw Mexican
nobody is saying that the UFC should put on the best fights regardless of the money, right? UFC just wants to take all the money.
Moreno and left the arena. The vast majority of the crowd had fucked off before the main event had even started, meaning the only things left in the arena after the event were Teixeira's gloves. But Glover wasn't the only legend to retire in the saddest way imaginable.
Like, do you care how good your company
Shogun
is?
Hua,
if they're paying
one time
you well?
Voted by this channel as the sexiest man to ever soccer kick people into unconsciousness.
Yo, that soccer kick is crazy. Look at this. He just boop, boop.
Youngest ever Pride Grand Prix winner, former heir apparent to Vanderlei Silva's throne of violence, and former UFC light heavyweight champion fought his last fight. At 41, Shogun had been dodging retirement almost as hard as Queen Elizabeth, but time comes for us all, and mixed martial arts is no country for old men. At UFC 283, Shogun proved the old adage to be true, that you either retire a hero or live long enough to see yourself get knocked the fuck out by some kid
I don't
who then
give
proceeds
a fuck.
to do a Fortnite dance over your
And it's not like he didn't already prove he was the best. He was the UFC heavyweight champion and beat a legend in the process.
My Boudica, my eternal Valkyrie.
It's not like he didn't fight for the UFC title.
Was booked to fight. Why can't I remember?
Hi, Mom. My life is a living hell.
Oh, fuck, my head hurts.
It's not like he didn't fight for the title and left for more money. He fought for the title, took it, and then beat Cyril Gane in a really impressive way with a fucked up knee. And then said, yo, pay me or I'm out.
2023 proved to be a bad year for anyone considered to be a legend of the sport. From Shogun Hua having his opponent perform a meme dance over his grave, to Teixeira retiring in an arena emptier than Brendan Schaub's skull. And in February, another fighter worthy of being placed on MMA's Mount Crushmore made the walk for the last time. Fedor Emelianenko, Pride FC legend, knockout impresario, accordion wizard, and man whose mother I have a crush on, finally called it quits after a career stretching back to the early 2000s.
If anyone could break down the
In his last fight, Fedor faced Ryan Bader, one of the most boring fighters since Rise of the Robots. Bader chose Fedor's retirement fight to finally do something other than hump legs and dutifully sent a 47-year-old Fedor on the lightless
What
walk.
is he excited about?
Dana
Bader.
White, never a man to miss an opportunity or the
what?
sight of his wife's face, took this moment to declare.
Dude, do you know how impressive it is for Bader to smoke Fedor? Me smoking cheeses. Me smoking crack. Me smoking crystal meth. Those are all on the same level of impressiveness. Like, you knocked out somebody who has an AARP membership. Great. Not anymore. And he still said it after he's out of the UFC. Francis should just decide if he want to earn more money or be the... He fought the world heavyweight champion of boxing his first match. No, according to most people, he won the fight. And the only person that was sitting down on the canvas looking up at the other
was his opponent.
Yeah, was his opponent, Tyson Fury. Fedor probably should have retired several matches sooner, like Tony Ferguson. Know what I mean? You know, like the dude didn't go and fight PFL's champion. He went and fought the biggest boxing star in the world and put his ass on the canvas. Come on, Dan. Come on, Dan. God damn it.
Declare that Fedor, a man who holds wins over Crow Cop, Big Nog, Mark Coleman, Mark Hunt, Kevin Randleman, and has one of the longest winning streaks in heavyweight history, had never been that good. And while he may never have been up to the lofty standards of
Dana
famous
White
cardio
as a
kickboxing
cardio
Dana, at least all
instructor,
of his
oh my
victories
God,
are over the same gender. In other spousal abuser news, Greg Hardy had a few childhood memories permanently erased at Bare Knuckle FC's hilariously titled Knuckle Mania event. Former football player and current piece of shit Hardy was finished by Josh Watson, and literally no one was sad to see it. At UFC 284, Alexander Volkanovski got a permission slip from his...
You know, that's a good point you make, Jay. You make a good point, man. Who's to say that if Francis didn't leave, if John Jones would still be waiting for his heavyweight debut? You know, talking all a good game, but he didn't show back up in the UFC until after Francis got injured and left the company. Yeah.
His mother to take a field trip up to lightweight to face Islam Makhachev. Makhachev proved that having a surname that ends in V is the best base for MMA. When he humped out a unanimous decision
so that's why I said what I said
over
to
a man
preempt that.
widely considered to be much
He was typing it out furiously, and I'm just like,
In
no.
unsurprising power slap news, professional slapper and power slap season 1 contestant John Kennedy was suspended from competition after testing positive.
Anybody remember Mr. Kennedy?
Yeah.
I miss Mr. Kennedy.
Is that the guy who
that had the mic come from the
down,
ceiling?
Yeah, in the middle.
Yo, who remembers Mr. Kennedy? Mr. Kennedy. Yeah, like that.
And then he just kept saying his last name over and over again.
Yo. Oh, Jay didn't like him. Yo, I thought he was fucking awesome. I did not like the angle when they were trying to say, well, the last name is Kennedy, and then it's like Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Oh, that's his love child or his kid or whatever. I didn't really like that angle too much. But man, I was a big fan of Mr. Kennedy. And here's the thing, guys. We missed out big time. I really would want to see a prime CM Punk in the ring with a mic in his hand versus a prime Mr. Kennedy cutting promos.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I mean, his title, you know, I think that his time on the mic was more memorable than his time in the ring, to be honest with you. Well, I missed the Attitude Era, so there you have it.
Or cocaine. And realistically, it makes perfect sense that in a sport as comprehensively moronic as power slap, blasting a few rails before the fight is considered a performance enhancer. February was not a good time for power slap, as the show was still struggling with its biggest viral moment being held.
I heard that you know, the Whatever podcast is like one of those, we're a vanilla form of the Frauds in Florida podcast. You know, we're gonna, you know, we're actually gonna live by the principles that we espouse on the program when we talk to these OnlyFans models. So we're gonna do it the nice way, and we're not gonna be Frank Castling anybody and all of that. You know, the Whatever podcast, you know, has been like, you know, basically, you know, the white man's version of, you know, the other one.
Yeah.
They kicked from what I hear, they kicked a girl off the show recently because she did cocaine on the show.
Oh.
I mean, straight up Dr. Roxo'd that shit.
It's terrible.
Holy crap.
That's terrible.
Held in a Cabo nightclub, its competitors being suspended for party drugs, and culminated with U.S. Congressman Bill Pascrell Jr. sending a letter to TBS and Warner Brothers demanding they explain why in the name of Slap Jesus they were airing this relentless trash. And in some late-breaking power slap news, while Googling for a picture of Slap Jesus for this bit, I discovered that Slap Jesus himself was dropped by power slap after he was jailed for multiple crimes, including burglary and domestic violence. So power slap is going great. At Kazakh MMA promotion Octagon League, fighter Tamur Zaparov had the most ill-advised
Melted Mind does not
celebration
understand that he's
since
barking up the
Hamzat
wrong
screamed,
tree
"Allahu Akbar,
because
gonna
Dan
kill
Jensen
everyone
is the
on
guy
September
that pays
11th."
the people.
But the biggest combat sports
It's also
news of
up to the
February
fighter if
wasn't
they
in the
actually want to be
UFC,
paid for their work.
MMA, or even a Cabo nightclub, as Jake Paul
What did you
finally
expect,
fought
JL?
someone who wasn't old enough to be his dad, but not young enough to be kissed by his dad, and
Hey,
wasn't
yo.
more washed than R. Kelly's sheets. This was the first time Jake had actually boxed someone who trained exclusively in boxing, and over 8 rounds, the entire MMA sphere lived vicariously through Tommy Fury, as he did what most rational human beings want to do, and put an ass-whooping on Jake Paul. Post-fight, Paul immediately announced his intention to go back to exclusively picking opponents old enough to have owned a Commodore 64.
Damn mad. He's the employer. Oh, guys. This fucked me up. Yeah. Yo, it's the jingle. Could you imagine you bought a Commodore 64 for your kids and then all the neighborhood's kids just burst through, like just run through your house? Oh my God.
In Hollywood news, Conor McGregor and actual actor Jake Gyllenhaal filmed scenes for the terminally cursed Roadhouse reboot at the UFC 285
Wow, Melted
weigh-ins.
Mind is trying to corner,
Roadhouse
is trying
is
to
a
put
movie
Dan
that's
in
already been rebooted
in
more
the
times
mental
than Windows
blender.
Vista, yet somehow has still never been released. One time set
Yeah,
to
his
star
lady
fellow
is smoking
MMA
the meats
acting
of a lot of
powerhouse
other men.
Ronda
What are you
Rousey.
talking about, Stad? Good to see you again. I haven't seen you in a minute. I need to put some content on my other
This
channel, so
iteration of
he'll come by.
Roadhouse features the star power of the Burger King Lear himself, Conor McGregor. The movie still hasn't seen the light of day, but with advancements in AI and deepfake technology rapidly evolving, there's still a chance to harness the computational power of an entire
actually looks
data
like he was
center
eating that
to
shit, too.
deepfake his acting skills up to at least fatal deviation level.
If you win the tournament, you'll break their power.
But what about Nicola?
Don't worry, we'll get her back.
While doing media for UFC 285, Dana White took the opportunity to shut down any talk of Francis Ngannou ever returning to the UFC. Dana smugly seized the opportunity to ram home the fact that he didn't care who Francis was seeing now. It's not like he ever liked him or anything, and that Francis would never again get coupons for Venom gear or be allowed to borrow a pair of The Rock's shoes for a walkout.
Yeah, but the movie, yeah, no.
That's terrible. You poor thing.
No. We negotiated with him for years. It's it's over. That's over. Yeah.
Me saying his name is wishful thinking.
No, he'll never be in the UFC.
Internet.
You know what that reminds me of? And you're not going to be able to relate because you've been in the same relationship for pretty much your entire adult life, right?
Pretty much my entire adult life, yeah.
Right. All right. So what that reminds me of is like when a mid chick is like, you know, the guy was with her for a while and he wanted some pussy, and you know, she kind of like put it behind like a paywall.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay, I'm listening. No.
Hey, yo.
I'm sorry. I clicked the wrong one. Continue. I'm listening. Babe. I'm listening.
I'm just watching you do this weird shit like in the middle of the stream.
No, but I can multitask. I am multitasking here. Dan asked for a link to the video in the description. That's what I'm doing.
Yes, it is what you're doing.
Okay, Dan, refresh. For anyone who wants the video that we are watching now, link is now in the description. Just go ahead and refresh.
And Napoleon, if you choose not to copyright strike us,
that's why I'm trying to pause a little more.
Thank you.
And we're gonna have to.
All right, so that would be like a chick who's mid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who put her pussy behind a paywall for her own boyfriend, and then he leaves her, and she's like, "Huh, I'm so great. See, he was so thirsty for my pussy, huh?" And then he just goes out and gets a chick that's like 8 times hotter than her, and now she mad. That's what it sounds like. The Dana White talking about, oh yeah, he'll never be in the UFC again. He'll just go and make more in one fight against the best boxer of our generation in one shot than he'd ever make in his entire career with us. Ha ha ha! Take that, Francis.
Internet comment sections seized upon this interview as undisputable evidence that Francis now had all the career prospects of Matthew Perry. With no opportunities forthcoming, and the UFC moving on without him, the legend of Francis of the Fumbled Bag was born. The future of Power Slap, the ninja warrior for spousal abusers, was brought into question after it was announced in March that TBS would not be renewing Power Slap for Season 2. Dana, never one to be deterred by things like common sense or good taste, announced that he had never even liked TBS anyway, and that he was going to make his own Power Slap TV show with blackjack and hookers and film it on Fight Island. To the surprise of literally no one, the Gordon Ramsay of horse meat cuisine, Alistair Overeem, failed a drug test stemming from his 2022 Glory kickboxing match with Badr Hari. In Overeem's defense, he couldn't possibly have been on steroids because he had already consumed the entire global supply chain of them. And in great news for all the PFL athletes hoping Jake Paul will be the savior of their finances, the Bernie Madoff of influencer boxing, Jake Paul himself, was charged by the SEC for illegally touting a crypto scheme. Surely there must be some mistake. The man who twice scammed fans with bullshit influencer courses and steals copyrighted artworks for his merch.
We actually covered the crypto zoo scam on TSP.
And March ended with UFC 285 and the most hotly anticipated debut since Paige Van Zandt set up an OnlyFans. John Jones finally reached his quota of eyes gouged at light heavyweight, and sporting the daddest of bods, moved up to heavyweight to face Cyril Gane. Gan, carrying the hopes and dreams of French people like myself, was humped into a living death by Jones before Bruce Buffer's vocal cords had even had a chance to cool down.
It's boring.
It was 40 seconds. It didn't even last long enough to be boring. I mean, we were hoping that there was going to be a striking battle.
UFC 285 went down in history as being the first ever pay-per-view with no co-main event.
My life is a living hell.
If you look it up, it's not there. There's no record of it ever happening.
This is the one that you guys said, right?
Huh? Yeah, we did Jimmy Dean, we covered it on TSP last year, I think.
Yeah, they did they covered all.
We did like a three-part. Yeah, we did a three-part series on it.
As the first of the April showers began, former featherweight GOAT Jose Aldo took the time out of his busy schedule to chime in on the Ngannou situation. Jose explained that Francis had shot himself in the foot by leaving the UFC. He claimed you couldn't just rock up into the world of boxing and expect to get all the incredible perks of the UFC, like being loaned a pair of The Rock's shoes or making a $50,000 performance of the night bonus. Jose then drove off in a clown car to
give
face
Napoleon
Jeremy,
blown apart.
who the fuck is that guy, Stevens, in Jorge Masvidal's mid-budget Street Beefs clone. Two of the greatest combat sports moments of the year happened in the same event this April, and it wasn't in the UFC. At Fight Circus 6, Rampage Jackson and Bob Sapp took part in a Siamese boxing match. Fight Circus 6 also featured me doing voice work, not to brag or anything, but I'm kind of a big deal in the clown world MMA sphere. Rampage and Sapp were strapped into a t-shirt so large its size required more X's than an Amsterdam.
Look.
Yeah.
They put a clown on the floor that looks like the original UFC. The original UFC logo.
Yeah.
That they used to have.
Is that Patrick Swayze? Why does that look like Patrick Swayze? Here in the corner. You got some Superman looking dude here. I don't know what the fuck is going on here.
Remember, Patrick Swayze's been gone for some
I know,
time.
but it still looks like him.
Yeah, that's
No more burgers.
Oh man.
Dude, it's breakfast time. Go have some breakfast.
You just went through a fasting period that you need to break.
Eat.
Well, we're actually about to see JL if they should still be fighting. Let's see how they did.
Strapped into a t-shirt so large, its size required more X's than an Amsterdam red light district. Their opponents were none other than the Tony Montana of MMA promoters, John Nutt, and some other guy. However ridiculous that sounds to you, in actuality, it was worse.
The way that he's holding his face. The way he was holding his face.
Fight Circus attempted to answer the hypothetical "how many 5-year-olds could you beat up" question when Muscle Daddy Walter Vale fought 2 children, and it kinda has to be seen to be believed.
Welcome. One punch is over.
Oh, shit.
Oh my God! He powerbombed my Walter!
Oh, no!
Why the good dude was like, no! He just kind of rolled him over.
Wait, what is that?
That other kid is hurt.
I don't want to go too far on a limb, but this may have been a bad idea.
No shit, sure.
Did I not tell these kids that I will not deal with their shenanigans?
Fans of terrible combat sports were eating well in April, as Creative
the first
2
guy
took place, and this image just about sums up the whole farce. And I know a lot of you in the comments are going to give me shit for dunking on an event designed to raise money for charity.
There were a lot of people at that
But the event didn't even manage to raise the funds it was supposed to, which means I can go ahead and call it the load of self-indulgent shite masquerading as
that
a
kid was
charity
really
event
hurt.
that it really is. April saw the UFC and WWE's parent companies merged Tetsuo style into one ungodly abomination that can count two of the world's worst human beings as its employees, Dana White and Vince McMahon. The merger also opens the door for all kinds of wacky crossover bullshit that neither
I think
fans
Captain
of
Paul would
wrestling
agree
or
with you on that.
MMA are interested in. Roman Reigns versus John Jones in a Hell in
Wait,
a Cell
wait,
match.
wait, wait. Let's
UFC
go back a second.
UFC versus WWE Royal Rumble.
Guys, does that not look like the worst and the cheapest championship belt you've ever seen in your life?
Oh, yeah.
They look like they just cobbled that shit together. That looks terrible.
While I like green, it looks like it was just painted on.
It looked like it was paper. That looks like paper mache.
Shiny paper mache.
Yeah. They put like some gold glitter on it.
Try to make it as large as possible.
He said the 24/7. So yeah, it looks like that. Oh man, it looks awful.
So where is that belt hanging now?
Yo, I think I'm just gonna let it play.
Actually, that does sound pretty cool. I'd probably watch that.
Nate watch.
Nate Diaz was spotted roaming outside of his natural habitat, the 209, while attending a Misfits boxing event in New Orleans. Diaz did what Diaz does and choked a guy unconscious in the middle of the street
And
for no
walked off,
real
too.
reason other than he kind of looked like Logan Paul.
Go Power Rangers.
If you spot Nate in the wild, do not approach him, as he is considered to be exceedingly high and dangerous. If approached by a feral Diaz brother, experts agree your best chance at survival is to distract them by throwing a black shirt and a Deftones CD at them, enabling you to make your escape. More on this
Intelligent
late-breaking story
artificial?
as it develops.
Power Slap was back in the news this April after a blockbuster event that outsold every UFC pay-per-view ever, with 8 billion pay-per-view sales, meaning literally every human being on Earth tuned in to watch Power Slap. No, I'm just kidding.
Look at the
6
people behind the
slappers were
dude getting
suspended
slapped,
for
like
a range of
scrambling to
doping
catch him.
violations,
Oh,
so
that's so
ridiculously
awful.
long, it reads like the list of side effects in a dick pill commercial. The sheer amount of banned substances coursing through the slapper's veins would make Alistair Overeem blush and prompted Nevada Athletic Commission Chairman Anthony Marnell to say, "Is there like a big bowl of performance-enhancing drugs down there somewhere that I don't know about?" And that's a real, actual quote. I swear to slap Jesus, I am not making that shit up. April also saw Luke Rockhold come out of retirement for a bare-knuckle boxing match. Luke had an almost perfect swan song in the
Mike
UFC
Perry has
when he
become
just
quietly
bled
one
all
of the
over
most
Paulo
feared men in the
Costa's
world.
face in one of the most gruesomely beautiful ways to end a career. Rockhold, however, seems determined to squander his God-given handsomeness and signed up for the combat sports equivalent of huffing paint fumes. The fight was waved off midway through round
it
2
sounds legit
after
now to mine.
Rockhold got his teeth punched through his face by Florida man
Right in the
Mike Perry.
palm. Right here. They just
Well,
injected
fuck.
there.
What can I say?
Around the knuckles.
You can check bare knuckle off the list. Some crazy shit. Those little knuckles got me. Square on the front too.
Teeth after that. Goodness gracious.
Maybe a beard. Maybe a better mouthpiece. It's a good fight. It's a shame it ended that way.
You know, he reminds me of somebody who feels guilty about his privilege, so he just tries to throw it all away. That's what Luke Shatterjaw. I never called him Rockhold because rock implies strength, and you know that See, this is why we're friends. Okay, the How High reference. Thank you very much.
So he felt guilty for being too pretty, so he had to fuck up his face.
And it, dude, like,
I'm not done.
And you could see,
Conor
like, when his
McGregor
tooth
had
got
been in
broken, he
attendance
was
that
in
night,
the cage.
and Conor being Conor
the
couldn't handle
no,
not
but the
being the
broken
center
tooth
of
was
attention.
Yeah.
Post-fight, he got in the ring of an organization he will never ever fight for, and had the most pointless stare down since that time he faced off against his hotel room TV. And at UFC 287...
Yo, shout out to Catherine. I know I have not blessed you guys on the DEG channel.
Happy New Year.
But like he feels guilty about pretty boy privilege. Yo, Catherine, thank you so much for coming by today. I hope all is well. Below the equator, hopefully it's warm where you are. I mean, it's not exactly cold.
No, we have some
Where
46 now here.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit.
But
Happy Merry Christmas.
yeah, like I'm very very happy to see you, Catherine. It is good to see you. I was actually chatting back and forth with Louis Rossman, and I think we played phone tag as well. I think he tried to call me when I was in the movies with you.
Ah, okay.
So
yeah, call back later.
Yeah. I'm so thankful that it's warm for somebody in the stream.
Jorge Masvidal faced off
Thank you
against
guys for
Gilbert
coming
Burns.
by.
In one of the careers of all time, Masvidal retired after losing by unanimous decision.
And shout
Jorge
out
left the UFC to concentrate on his real
Napoleon
passions,
Bonaparte for
sucker punching
putting this
people
together.
outside of mid-budget restaurants, and struggling to put on a show with higher production values than street beefs.
And I can't imagine the
In the main event, Israel Adesanya got revenge over longtime foe Alex Pereira. Izzy reclaimed the middleweight belt in stunning fashion after knocking out Pereira, and looked set to rule over the middleweight
you know what
division.
I think he did? I think since this is like the second time he's done this, I think that he was like filing stuff away for the next one. Which is something that we don't do, you know?
Yeah.
Because we are, filthy casuals.
Yeah. You know what? But we're learning. We get better each year.
Are they now finished beating each other up for 2023? Yes.
Just for this year.
JL says, man, this made my year in April, but then came September. Let's not.
Oh, yeah. We haven't gotten to that month yet.
Foreshadowing, sir. Foreshadowing.
That'll show up
for a long time.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device in which suggestions or warnings about events to come are dropped or planted.
Oh, wait, I want to see this. Oh, it was the throw pies and
In more bizarro news from the Bush Leagues, in a Kazakh promotion imaginatively titled Octagon, a fighter named Thiago Oliveira attempted to secure a submission via cannibalism. Oliveira was rightly disqualified after chowing down on his opponent's ear like McGregor on a Whopper. UFC 288 landed with a wet thud on the 6th of May. In the main event, King of Cringe Henry Cejudo came out of retirement and immediately returned to retirement after being soundly beaten by Aljamain Sterling in a match I'm pretty sure every one of us has forgotten even happened.
Thinking back on that fight with Cejudo, I think that Sterling wanted to stay active, so he did not present his hips to Cejudo because then he knew he'd be taken down. Right? Now, here's the thing. Aljamain didn't do a whole lot of damage to him in the first 3 rounds. It looked like Cejudo just did not feel confident in the cage, and he just didn't go. It was like, dude, just go.
Yeah.
Right? And then in rounds 4 and 5, he actually gets started, and it's like,
it's too late now.
Dude.
I did forget this fight. Like, as Napoleon said, in a fight that no one remembers, I did not remember this fight.
I like they can now give their brains a rest and not getting more stupid hit by hit they take.
Oh, but they will in 2 weeks.
Yeah. 3 weeks? 2 weeks. Yeah, something like that. What up, man? What up?
Morning.
Aljo gets too much hate. Sorry, but this fight is top 5 fights in 2023. That's not saying a lot, though. And I'm not sure. I think on the last fight night or in the last card had the best female fight of the year.
I'm gonna agree with you there.
Yep. Bruce Bob Trotter in the building. Yep.
Bob.
Bob? Who's Bob? Oh, that's what's up.
Yes.
Let's go.
Howdy.
Israel versus Alex was the only really good, memorable rivalry in KO this year. No really big fights. I have to agree with that too. Oh, the best female title fight. Again, that's not saying a whole lot. Okay, the guy with the title in the middle looks like his forehead is huge with the white guy stand. Oh. And then look.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
That's a dome.
Yeah. UFC 300 is probably going to end up being Song versus Gutierrez rematch in the main event. I have a bad suspicion that they're talking, oh my God, this is going to be the most bombastic cards with guys in the early prelims that would headline and all that stuff. Yeah, right, whatever. The fights that they already announced, I'm like, that's what you got?
Mm.
All right. I think Josh Emmett should get knockout of the year. And it doesn't matter who the threat was. It was the fact that he almost put him on a ventilator.
Oh, and the last yeah, that was a scary one. Where
Yeah.
the guy started to convulse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude did the Harlem Shake
scary.
unconscious. Shout out to G Dep.
288 was mostly remembered for the featherweight match between Crone Gracie and Charles Jourdain.
That was awful.
Gracie employed a technique rarely seen outside of a veterinarian's.
Now, guys, you guys know how angry I was when I saw this. Like, literally, Crone Gracie, if you could never step in the UFC cage ever again, you'd be doing all of us a great service. I never want to see that guy in the cage ever again. And then fucking Dana's like, oh yeah, you just had a bad day. Dana, if it was anybody else, if it was literally guys. Dana. If that was literally anybody else, with anybody else's last name, you would be killing him. You would be killing him for it. If it was literally anybody, I mean, you know, if Connor did it, he would have let him get away with it. If John Jones did it, he would have let him. But anybody not named, anybody not named John Jones or McGregor or somebody with the last name Gracie, you would be murdering them for it. Come on, man. Jay, I can't put that on the screen. Gracie on his hands and feet, no surprise. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Come on. Oh, UFC 292, Zhang Wei Li versus Amanda Lemos. Favorite female fight of the year.
I have to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
Love Wei Li. I have to rewatch it. But the non-title female fight for me is the last one that just happened.
I don't know, Rick. You may end up with a special delivery.
I hate you.
Oh, man. His office when he menacingly butt-scooted around the octagon. Unlike his opponent, fans and fighters alike were happy to dive on Gracie for employing a technique that hasn't been seen in MMA since Bill Clinton was in office. Tony Ferguson's run of misfortune continued when he was arrested for DUI. Ferguson crashed into two cars and flipped his truck outside a Hollywood nightclub. But knowing Tony, crashing into cars and flipping his truck is probably just how he drives normally. In yet more Ngannou news, it was announced in May that Francis had signed with the PFL. In a move that initially seemed more confusing than a berimbolo, Francis decided to move to an organization.
Yeah, so, you know, Dan Jensen, do you have one of these, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan? Because Francis does. And he's an African wearing white, which means that he does not, you know, toil in the sun all day long. Oh.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I got so distracted. Which one were we using?
This is just a thing.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Sorry. And we're back. We're
going back. We're
Jourdain.
We're going.
Gracie employed a technique rarely seen
I'm sorry, I got
outside of
really
a
pissed off.
veterinarian's office when he menacingly
I'm telling you,
butt-scooted
Quan
around
Gracie.
the octagon.
He's
Unlike his opponent, fans and fighters alike were happy to dive on Gracie for employing a technique that hasn't been seen.
Yep,
in
they're
MMA
not.
since
They're
Bill
not
Clinton
toiling.
was in
You'll see
office.
that in a
Tony
second.
Ferguson's run of
But
misfortune
put me in,
continued
coach.
when he was arrested for
Guys,
DUI.
guys,
Ferguson
I never
crashed
saw
into
the
two cars and
coach.
flipped his truck outside a Hollywood nightclub.
I never
But
saw the
knowing
footage of
Tony,
this.
crashing into cars and flipping his truck is probably just how he drives normally. In yet more Ngannou news, it was announced in May that Francis had signed with the PFL in a move that initially seemed more confusing
Dan
than
Jensen.
a berimbolo.
Because
Francis decided to move to an organization.
Dan, you got one of these Rolls Royce Cullinan things, man. You got the orange interior with the smoke gray exterior. The doors open backwards.
It's a big ass car.
Well, it's an SUV.
I mean, he's not a small dude, so I'm just comparing with him.
There's not a spot on his tunic.
Still an expensive rental.
No. You don't want to be a clown in a Rolls Royce. Man, listen. I ain't listening to you no more.
Where his only big money fight
Invalidate. You just invalidated all your opinions.
Was this further incontrovertible proof that Francis had unlike with his wife, Dana didn't hold back when discussing Ngannou's new business venture.
It makes no sense to me. I mean, you're going to pay a guy not to fight for a year, and it's already been like 18 months. He's fought.
I don't think that I don't think that there are any fight promotions that pay the fighter while they're not fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they'll pay Francis when he fights, like you do, Dana.
Yeah.
He's not on a fucking salary. I just... What? In the black SS with the navigation. Oh, that's good, man. That's good.
3 times in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Just not what we do here. Francis wants to take 0 risks. Doesn't want to take any chances. And he obviously didn't want to take a chance against John Jones. And after we saw what happened with Cyril Gane, you know, I don't blame him. PFL's going to...
You know what? I really don't...
Cyril Gane? Yeah.
Cereal. Cereal Gane. Shout out to Mexican martial arts. You know, Francis Ngannou didn't want to take any chances, which is why he wanted to fight the world heavyweight champion of boxing, a sport that he's never competed in before. And he wanted to go up against the very best that there is because he didn't want to take any chances. Right, Dan?
It's not risky.
Right, Dan?
I'm waiting for the comment. Dan's like, F you.
It was Kayla commenting about the dripped out Ngannou. yeah, that shit is cool, man. It shit is cool. Again, great point, Jay. And the thing is, Mr. Miocic, what was his last fight?
I don't even remember.
Getting blasted by Francis. That was the last time he fought.
Yeah.
You know what it was, 3M? I have a sneaky suspicion that John Jones did not want to fight until Francis wasn't in the UFC anymore. He just did not want to fight Francis. Yeah. His last fight was when Francis took the belt off of him.
Going to pay this guy to train for a boxing match that may not even happen and that they might not even be involved in. How does that make any sense? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Anthony Joshua called it a gimmick fight this week. It's all about these gimmicky type fights.
Wait. Since when do you give a fuck what Anthony Joshua has to say, Dana? Come on, man. Oh, And did Francis try to fight Anthony Joshua or the guy that's better than him in Tyson Fury? Oh, yeah. There's no risk there, though. Yeah, but he sat there for 3 years and did nothing. So I'm pretty sure they were offering him fights for 3 years, but he never got in the cage until after Francis. And then give Jones props because he fought Cyril Gane and people thought Cyril Gane was a real threat to him, right? But then he's like, well, I'll only fight washed up Stipe, but I won't fight, and I'll fight Stipe and then retire.
Yeah.
Wait, because you don't want to fight Sergey Pavlovich, who just got his fucking brains blown out, right? You don't want to fight Almeida?
Doesn't want to take risk. All right.
Yes. Francis stuffing the wrestling attempts of Stipe after Stipe basically rode him cowboy in that first fight. That was pretty telling. That was pretty telling. Yep. No, everybody knew how shitty of a gimmick it was. I think he was submitted like 2 minutes 10 seconds into the first round.
I said I didn't see the
by Mickey Gall, who actually thought of himself as a big star. Fucking garbage.
We saw him maybe 1 or 2 times after that.
Well, to be fair, his wife did slap him. So
fights. And that's just not what I do here. It's not what I do. Francis just thinks like that he's in a position where he's got some Conor McGregor Mayweather fight on his hands, which he does not. He thinks there's all this money in it.
I think it's foreshadowing.
I disagree.
Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
Anticipation for McGregor's return to MMA was high when USADA announced he'd be back in their testing pool any day now. But this is about as close to a pool as Conor would get all year, given the fact that he now looked like Roid Rage Gimli, and his piss was so tainted it needed to be stored in vats underneath Fukushima. Daniel Cormier made headlines when he announced that he was all year, given the fact that he now looked like Roid Rage Gimli, and his piss was so tainted it needed to be stored in vats underneath Fukushima. Daniel Cormier made headlines when he announced that he was worried that the long-awaited heavyweight matchup between John Jones and Stipe Miocic may not happen. And, well, there was more bizarro news from the Bush Leagues, this time coming out of Fame MMA and Poland,
absolutely,
where fighter
3M,
Thomas
absolutely.
Zedema landed a move known as Schrodinger's dick punch, a shot that was a low blow, but also wasn't a low blow. Thomas had aimed at the body, but as the punch was in motion, his opponent attempted a jumping knee, meaning Thomas landed a punch straight into the balls of his opponent while in mid-air. And May ended with the premiere of the long-rumored
He's like
McGregor
one of those
versus Chandler.
Buddhist monks that you see doing the display where they all like taking bricks and just slamming their dicks with it. Right? That dude was like, I'm not going to take this to the body. I'm going to take this to a cup.
Series of The Ultimate Fighter. Strap yourself in for 8 weeks of fun.
David! Welcome to the party.
This looks so awkward.
Let's all be uncomfortable together for the next minute. She hurts him. She's like, no. My coat doesn't fit. It's about to tear the seams.
His pants don't fit. Michael Chandler. Yo.
Oh, it's on. What's mine? I'll have the highest low blow ever.
Summer arrived, and with it, more madness in the minor leagues, this time from Blade Fights 2. But zip your pants back up, because Blade Fights is just a name.
That goes
and
without
features
saying. I still
approximately
dislike
0
Chandler,
John
though.
Wick-style
But,
knife fights. Instead, what we got was a fighter named Samuel Blasco suffering a ring out. But unlike Soul Calibur, this didn't trigger a game over, as he was allowed
Isn't
to
that a game we
scramble back
bonded
into
on?
the ring,
Yeah, Soul
where his
Calibur.
opponent finished the
Soul
job.
Calibur.
Much to the
Three.
sheer screaming delight
I think we
of
bought
this woman.
4.
June
6.
proved to be a popular month
I
for
think it went up to
ringouts.
7.
At
I'm not
LFA
mistaken.
160, Fighters Josiah Harrell and Mike Roberts managed to eject themselves from the octagon in scenes that hadn't been replicated since the early days of the UFC. Former NFL, UFC, and DV star Greg Hardy continued his hot streak of getting knocked the fuck out when he was dropped twice at Team Combat League.
So guys, some of you may or may not have been around long enough to know this. But anytime this a woman abuser would be on a card, we would boycott the card. It didn't matter whether it was a UFC fight night. It didn't matter if it was a pay-per-view. It didn't, I think he was still on the roster when we were doing Filthy Casual. And we just wouldn't do the show at all. And I got a lot of flack for that. Even, I don't understand how people can give me flack for saying that if a woman hits a man, she deserves to get back what she gave. But then when you say, hey, I don't support men who very nearly beat a woman to death. Oh, you shouldn't care about what's going on in their private lives. You should only care about the music or care about the movie or care about the sport. Which one is it? And you know where I draw the line, right? Like a woman can say any mean thing she wants to you. You keep your hands to yourself. Let her talk.
Yeah.
She puts her hands on you. Well, but that's not what happened. So I don't understand.
Ass kicking.
I don't understand how people can criticize my position when my position is very clear. One has no physical provocation. The other one does. Physical provocation, you lose your lady card. I just don't understand.
Hello to Mrs. Kratos.
Oh, that's what's up. Hi. Welcome. Right? If you're the thing is, this guy was kicked out of a sport where there have been multiple instances of some pretty severe abuse against women. And that sport kicked him out. So Dana's like, hey, we're going to pick up this abuser. No. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. Anytime this guy, we don't even say his fucking name on the channel. Anytime this person would ever be on a fight card, we would boycott it. I just don't.
There goes Mrs. Kratos.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming through. I just
so sweet. Hi, honey.
The answer is just no. And so, I mean, it's kind of nice to watch a retrospect, him just getting knocked the fuck out all the time. Yeah. It's almost like a weird karma where he voluntarily goes and gets what he knows he deserves, which is getting the shit beat out of him by other men.
Yeah.
I don't know. And thank you for doing some of the house cleaning for us, Melted Mind. I appreciate it. Hitting the like button is like really cool, and it doesn't cost anything. Yeah, and I think Catherine definitely understands where we're coming from. Like, for me, I don't think that anybody. What?
You just
like, what the fuck is he talking about? I understand. I'm very happy that Catherine understands, because a lot of people in Louis Rossman's community like to paint me out to be a hater of women and all this stuff. But for me, I think that self-defense is where I draw the line. And this guy almost killed the woman that he beat up.
Yeah.
With no physical provocation.
He's a big ass dude.
Yeah.
He's huge.
Yeah, and it's like you're the ultimate in shit pieces. I just wanna make it very, very clear where we stand on the issues When Colby Covington was going overtime talking that racist stuff, we boycotted those events too. If Covington or this piece of shit were on the card, we just wouldn't watch. And it's like the only
Nani?
Nani? Yeah, I'm just gonna move on.
This one's over! A 10-7 round!
Hey!
At Game 4 of the NBA Finals, it was Denver Nuggets versus Miami Heat, and Conor McGregor versus Common Sense. McGregor scored his first win since the pre-pandemic era, when he knocked out the Miami Heat mascot.
Isn't it weird that the last victories we've seen after he did that 40-second beatdown of Cowboy, and an old man at the bar, some dude's cell phone in the airport,
some dude's cell phone is on the list of beatdowns.
and the Miami Heat mascot.
He looks like one of those gangsters from
Yeah. Or
really bad B film.
You know, our friend that always talks about wearing the tracksuit with the little
yeah. This is the
shout
second
out
reference to him.
Yeah, shout out to him. Obviously, you know, we're going to keep him anonymous, but I just want to give him a shout out. He found out that he doesn't have cancer, and I'm very grateful. He's a really good man, and he gave us $1.5 for 1.5 nostril
Is Miami Heat and Conor McGregor versus Common Sense. McGregor scored his first win since the pre-pandemic era, when he knocked out the Miami Heat mascot. What was supposed to be a light-hearted caper ended up with the man.
That was heavy-handed.
That stunt goes extremely wrong. Goodness
David Banner said he did not beat that old man. At best, it's a draw. Old dude ate that punch and went back to his plane. I think it was like he wanted him to like drink proper 12, and the guy was like, I'm not drinking that shit. He looks like a villain from an 80s Batman movie.
Looks like one out of a Jason Statham
Eastern
film.
European.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like
Have you seen Jason Statham wear tracksuits like that before?
No.
At least the sweater part of it. I think he's worn at least the sweater part of it.
I think he's worn tracksuits before. In films.
Oh, the full.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the villain who's trying to fight Jason Statham, but he doesn't actually land a punch. They do that really awkward. I'm about to hit you, but they never actually hit him. Yeah.
Crank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
he wore all.
He wore that,
things.
and then he did, and then he unwore it.
And then
yeah,
it's great. Woo!
Hey, yeah, we're gonna be having the channel memberships up soon.
They're already up.
Oh, so you did it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he doesn't show up for a meeting, but he gets the job done. Well, for real?
If you look at, I'll show you in the desktop later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, it's not soon. It's here. Yeah, let's go. You know, he has brain damage, hence why he does stupid stuff and easily provoke. Yeah, he's weird. Connor is fucking weird, y'all. Let's just be. Dude, he's just weird.
And in the costume being sent to the emergency room after Roid Rage Gimli didn't bother pulling his punches and legitimately knocked out a children's entertainer.
How do you like them
Gimli would never do that.
In the most depressing long-running story in MMA, Bigfoot Silva came out of retirement and immediately went back into retirement after suffering his 11th straight loss. At this point in time, Silva hasn't won a fight since Obama was president, and anyone who books him in their promotion should regard themselves as an enabler and needs to ask themselves some serious fucking questions. UFC 289 arrived in early June, and to celebrate midsummer, the UFC blessed us with a mid-card. Amanda Nunes retired after a career so chock full of battered women, it would make Dana White jealous. In the main
I will say this. I was really annoyed by Irene Aldana. Irene Aldana. I was very annoyed. And we do see it in the men's game some. But I don't know why it annoys me more when women do it.
When they freeze up during title fights?
That's the second half of the problem.
Okay.
The first half of the problem is when, well, that's the third of the problem. The first third of the problem is when you watch them ramble shackle all their opponents. The second third of the problem is that they talk all this shit about how they're going to beat up the champion. And then they...
Yes.
She didn't start fighting until round 5. Or whenever the fight was ending. She looked terrible.
If she would have done what she did her very last fight, which was a fucking amazing fight, in this fight, that would have been great. Like, and what makes it more frustrating is that we know that she's capable of winning. Like,
yes,
we know she's fully capable.
Throw your fucking hands.
You know, you got that title shot for a reason. We know you could whoop her ass, and then you do the opposite. And she was not the first.
See, this is borderline racist. Stad. Okay? Chill out, man.
We're all going to hell together. One big TSP family. Together in hell.
Big pun, Jeremy. He's like, now I'm chewing on your girl's nipples. How do you like them apples, asshole?
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine. She's leading from the front. If she fought Nunes like she did her last fight, she could have... Yeah! Like, what the fuck, man? That shit was annoying to watch. Fuck.
Event, Nunes was scheduled to rematch Juliana Pena to prove once and for all that she had probably been missing car payments and bet on herself to lose in their first fight. Pena was pulled from the fight due to a broken rib, and Nunes' late replacement sacrificial lamb was Irene Aldana. The end result was the kind of fight where you feel like maybe Aldana should consider pressing charges. Tech billionaires and biggest scourges on society since the bubonic plague, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, looked set to settle their differences in the octagon.
Totally
Zuckerberg
not a
came
gimmick
down
fight.
with a
He's
terminal
white.
case of thinking he's a tough guy after doing a couple of private lessons in his penthouse gym and challenged Musk to a cage match. Dana White was hospitalized after wanking himself dry at the prospect of...
I'm sorry. That's poetry. Dana's face. This is actually what got me to click on this video, because it was in my recommended for, again, shout out to Napoleon Bonaparte. It was in my recommended for a while, but I'm just like, I don't want to watch a 69-minute video.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fuck it. I got the time. Right? All my clients are all on vacation. You know? And then I watched this shit and I was fucking dying. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then, you know, Mr. We don't do gimmick fights here. What was it? Oh yeah, we're trying to, get this fight to happen between Zuckerberg and Musk. Like, Sure.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you to everybody. Zuck wins anytime. Musk does not have a chance. I do not like both of them, actually. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Even though Musk has a sizable size advantage, Zuck whoops his ass. Zuck is also a weird sociopath. So, I think that he's probably... he probably puts him in a knee bar and doesn't let it go after Musk taps out.
I think that video got put on Patreon. when you guys were talking about it. You and Paul. I think Paul was here. And you guys did a video together.
About
Zuckerberg.
Oh yeah. That was fun. Shout out to everybody that's part of the Patreon gang. All 2 of you. We love y'all. We love y'all.
I just the third time watching it
Depending
now.
of Zuck in mid shedding his skin from his lizard forward. Let's go. We right here, 3M. We right here.
Hosting the gimmick match of the century. June ended with an announcement that none of us were ready for. Hickson Gracie had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Maybe that's what happened to Cron Gracie. He's already showing signs
Hickson
of
is such an
Parkinson's, which is why
important
he had
figure
to
in this sport
rub his ass
that
on
it
the
would
mat.
be genuinely
And
difficult
forgot how
to
to
find
fight.
someone who doesn't
The
love
boot
or
scoot.
at very least respect him. Without Hickson, we would never have had Pride FC, as the entire organization was built around his fight with Takada.
Yeah, that
We
sounds
would
about
never
right
have
to
had
me.
the insanity of Valley Tudo Japan 95, and we definitely wouldn't have had his voiceover work in EA MMA. As the sport moves on, names like Hickson's tend to fall by the wayside, unknown to newer fans, and consigned to history books few people take the time to read.
I don't know what
As
to tell
Hickson
you.
never fought for
Kratos.
the UFC, it can be easy to overlook his contribution to MMA for a lot of newer fans. But as long as he's with us, and for even longer after that, Hickson's is a name that deserves to be enshrined in MMA history.
Power Slap still sucks.
The list of legendary retirements gained another name in July, as former welterweight champion and one half of the bloodiest fight of all time, Robbie Lawler, called it a career.
Nah,
At
his
UFC
face was
290.
his lip
Shockingly
was
for an
absolutely
MMA retirement
almost
fight,
torn off
Robbie
his face.
not only went out with a
You
win,
need to watch that
but
fight.
with a brutal first-round knockout.
This is, I think,
something
what was that,
almost
Roy
unheard
McDonald's
of
last fight
in a
before he
sport
left the
that loves
UFC and went to
nothing more than
Bellator?
feeding the old to its young. Welcome, friends, to the second annual Just Bleed Award for Bloodiest Fight of the Year.
Is this for you,
At
Dan?
UFC Vegas 76,
Dan Jensen
Enfys
Award.
Brenner survived an early onslaught and staged a stunning comeback win. After a vicious elbow opened up Brenner's third eye, so much blood seeped into his silver dye job that he legitimately looked like he was dressing up as Chris Lieben for Halloween in between rounds. Despite being bloodier than a Westerosi wedding, Brenner won via TKO in the third round. Dana,
He said
I
this
don't
was
put
fight of
on
the
gimmick
year.
fights, that's not what I do
Yeah, he
here.
looked like,
White
Dana
was
with his
determined
eyes
to
rolled
make
up in his head.
Muskerberg happen, and announced in July that he had a date in mind on which to host this totally not a gimmick fight. Dana somehow managed to keep a straight face, but he's Dana, I don't put on gimmick fights, that's not what I do here. White was determined to make Muskerberg happen, and announced in July that he had a date in mind on which to...
This guy right here is the fucking GOAT. Dude on the street, you're the fucking GOAT, man. Now, you see all of these guys sucking off Dana, right? The guy only gets 8 likes on his comment, while everybody's sucking off. He just repeated what Dana said. We don't do gimmick fights. Like, the fuck? This isn't a gimmick fight. Gimmick is MMA guys going to boxing and getting beat. Foreshadowing.
Gimmick
We
is
have seen it
fighter.
already and know how it ends. This is a fight between 2 of the most powerful, richest guys in the world. Who will win? Who has seen this before? Nobody. It's a gimmick!
Yes, so a fight between 2 actual fighters is a gimmick. A fight between 2 fighters where one person will lose is a gimmick. That makes
It
sense.
just doesn't, like... I mean, if you want to talk about circular reasoning, this is circular reasoning. I just don't understand this reasoning here.
I mean, yeah, everyone would watch it. I'd watch it. But it's still a gimmick.
People wanted to know if CM Punk would win against some guy that nobody's ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. In Mickey Gall at the time. Was that not a gimmick fight?
Yeah.
Anything involving CM Punk in the UFC outside of commentary is even in commentary, it's still kind of a gimmick, but it's one that we would enjoy thoroughly. Yeah. I just don't. What's with the circular reasoning, Dana?
Because he won't admit that he's wrong.
Guys go into boxing and getting beat. Well, we'll see.
To host this totally not a gimmick fight, Dana somehow managed to keep a straight face when he said that watching a fucking dork try and pull guard on a guy whose fighting career has taken place exclusively on Twitter is a $1 billion fight. At UFC 290, Ted Lasso without the mustache, Dricus du Plessis, beat former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker and was immediately thrust into one of the most awkward face-offs of all time with Israel Adesanya.
This is my African brother right here. Let's go. What's up? Let's go. Yeah. What's up? Yeah. Gonna do.
And yeah, no. I'm not touching this one.
Oh, that was so good, man.
Moving on.
6,000 red panda skins.
290 was a bad day for fans of aesthetically pleasing violence, as in the main event, Alexander Volkanovski returned to featherweight and beat the living spinning shit out of Yair Rodriguez. In news that gave me clinical depression, soccer kick enthusiast and Pride FC legend Vanderlei Silva announced that
I don't think that you guys understand why that was relevant.
Boxing. Silva, a man with decades of fight experience and known for some of the most
in the
brutal
moment,
matches
but I
in
understood
MMA
why
history,
he cut that
signed
promo.
up to fight a man whose only fighting experience is battling to find a space on his arse he hasn't already injected into. July saw 2 UFC pay-per-views, with UFC 291 taking place on the 30th of July. Dana White, the man who absolutely cannot abide even the merest prospect of gimmickry within his hallowed organization, revived a make-believe belt in a symbolic division most famously attributed to a cartoonishly huge Hollywood actor. Justin Gaethje fought Dustin Poirier for the title of baddest motherfucker after former baddest motherfucker Jorge Masvidal was stripped of the title for losing 3 fights in a row and not fucking enough mothers. Gaethje headkick KO'd Poirier and was awarded his cartoon belt and became the undisputed champion of an unreal division.
Oh, Lord Dean.
But the biggest news of July happened outside of the fiefdom of Dana White.
In some bonus footage for you guys, we have a Herb Din.
Bungling, botching,
a Herb Din
mishandling
encounter.
The bag.
Unfortunately,
Francis Ngannou announced his next low-risk fight against a lesser opponent would be a professional boxing match against world heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. If Ngannou fumbled this bag, it's only because it was so overloaded with cash that he was having a hard time carrying it. Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate influencer boxing since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of blood vessels that fill my body. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1/1000th of the hate I feel for influencer boxing at this micro instant. Hate. Hate. For you. Hate.
They really did.
August began with the gold standard of garbage fights. when Jake Paul fought Nate
Entertainment
Diaz.
in Japan.
After
I really
seeing
just
Jake
want to go
serve
there
a no-knock warrant on the
to experience
consciousness
it
of Ben
firsthand.
Askren and Tyron Woodley, fans were naturally anxious. Should Diaz lose to former Disney kid turned crypto scammer Paul, it would be the capstone in a career spent humiliating retired MMA fighters.
I gotta go back.
Diaz fans were
I'm sorry, I gotta go back to this.
really anxious. Should Diaz lose?
I gotta. The thing that really messed me up about this whole thing with
August began with the gold standard of garbage fights when Jake Paul fought Nate
Tyron
Diaz.
Woodley.
After seeing Jake serve a no-knock warrant on the consciousness of Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley, fans were not.
Look, here's the thing. Here's the thing that bothers me about this. Right here.
It says dude wipes on his butt.
Well, he probably needed them after he got knocked out and vacated his bowels. Here's the thing, yo.
Just the thing.
Here's the thing that bothers me about this, okay?
Of Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley, fans
look at how Paul is just masterful in the footwork here to get to Woodley, the outside Woodley's left guard here. I don't understand how a professional fighter, whether or not he's fought in boxing before is immaterial.
Mm-hmm.
Woodley has knocked how many men out in his career?
And he got caught with this.
I just don't understand how he gets caught. This.
were not.
How do you? I just don't understand that.
Yeah. He was blocking his own eyes with the gloves, so he couldn't see.
I just don't understand. Guys, I don't, and then 3M comes in. But I mean, I would think it was fake if he doesn't fall exactly like this.
Naturally anxious.
Oh.
Should Diaz lose to former Disney kid turned crypto scammer Paul, it would be the capstone in a career spent humiliating retired MMA fighters.
Hashtag, who's ready for camp, huh?
Diaz fans worldwide clutched their metal militia shirts and waited anxiously to see if Diaz could pull off another UFC 196 and be the one to finally put a beating on the most obnoxious man in combat sports. In typical Diaz fashion, he did his best fighting at the weigh-ins. During the actual fight, Diaz feigned disinterest, attempted a guillotine, and in what is largely predictable Diaz behavior, after losing a lopsided decision because he spent more time clowning than fighting, he claimed Jake Paul doesn't know how to fight, and if it was in the streets, he'd still be undefeated. With all the misplaced confidence of a stormtrooper at a shooting gallery, UFC prospect and bipedal Zavirax billboard Ian Machado Gary claimed that
let's get into because I know you guys want to roast Ian, so I'm just gonna allow you guys to formulate your comments real quick, and we'll read them right here on the stream. I know that you guys
let the roast begin.
Yeah, like this is your opportunity. Thanks for coming through, Stad.
See ya.
We all know boxing has been rigged since the beginning when whites couldn't fight. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Thank you. No, I thought you said hit the chest. I'm like, what do I need to hit her for?
I knew what you meant. Melted mind. Just look at how shocked Cucky is. It's just, how could that happen?
He's not even the biggest superstar in his own house.
How? I love these things. Sorry. They bring me such joy.
Breaking news. Mrs. Evil loves cucks. What a man and his wife and her husband and her ex-husband, trainer nutritionists, do in their own home is none of our business. Oh, Jimmy Dean is like, nope. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. And Cucky was never the same. We need to add it here.
Oh, man. Oh, wow. Now that's a nice response, Dan. That's a nice response. You have redeemed yourself.
The entirety of UFC 292 was resting on his shoulders, such was his popularity. After his fight with Jeff Neal was scrapped, a late replacement Neil Magny stepped in. Gary claimed he had saved the card and was happy that all his fans would get to see him fight. But he was wrong, because Ian Gary has no fans. UFC 292 continued the trend for stunning upsets when Sean O'Malley faced Aljamain Sterling in the main event. After wins over top 10 ranked fighters such as Piotr Jan and well, he has a big following on YouTube, so the UFC gave him a title shot. I, like most people, expected Sterling to grind out a hump-based win, but O'Malley proved his doubters wrong yet again when he knocked out Sterling in round 2. Dana White broke out his best hand lotion as the prospect of having a champion young enough to use TikTok sank in. Sterling was forgotten faster than a Blumhouse horror movie, and the UFC were in such a rush to promote their new champion as hard and fast as possible that for the first time in their 30-year history, they released the entire main event for free on their YouTube channel the next day. August also saw Dana partake in his favorite pastime of being petty and vindictive. At UFC Vegas 78, Dana attempted to Thanos snap all traces of Francis Ngannou out of existence. Cameroonian native Tafan Nchukwi was introduced as the only Cameroonian fighter in UFC history. This was widely condemned as the bullshit it was, because as we all know, the UFC has had several Cameroonian fighters, Thierry Sokaju, Francis Ngannou, and Mike Perry. Dana was still pressing hard to make Muskerberg happen. White's erection for this fight was harder than McGregor's titanium shin bone, and what better way to stage a totally not gimmick fight than to contact the Italian Minister of Joke Fights to try and stage it in the Roman Colosseum. But Dana is onto something here. Gimmick fights at UNESCO World Heritage Sites is basically the foundation of Street Fighter 2. Why not make CM Punk versus Mike Jackson 2 at Machu Picchu? Sean O'Malley versus the Nelk Boys at the Pyramids of Giza? These are billion-dollar ideas.
Fiber, up your butt.
In MMA, there are only two constants. If Drake bets on you, you will lose. And if you're on the cover of EA UFC, your career henceforth is cursed. And September saw both of these constants put to the test. At UFC 293, middleweight champion Israel Adesanya was set to face Sean Strickland, a man who seemingly blundered his way to a title shot in between hanging truck nuts on his Ford F-150 and getting mad about women having rights on Twitter. Had you or I placed a bet on Izzy to beat Strickland, it would have been as safe a bet as placing $500,000 on Dennis Seaver not being able to ride the rides at Disneyland. But then Drake had to come along and place a $500,000 on Izzy to win, and his fate was sealed. Izzy put on a jaded, listless performance and allowed Strickland to essentially walk him down and throw some jabs for 25 minutes. Strickland was pronounced the winner, Drake lost $500,000, and the UFC had a middleweight champion with more edge than U2 playing a concert at the cliffs of Moher. I mean, this man is so edgy.
We need to go back to taking women out of the workforce, and maybe that's where we fucked up.
Jesus Christ, Shadow. What the hell brought this on?
We need to put women back in the kitchen. Only one man needs to be working, so as a collective man group, we need to elect someone that's going to put women back in the kitchen one man working, raise the wages, and build a fucking wall.
Yeah, you basically just said that, but I've still no idea where the hell this is coming from.
I want to be a serial killer, but I don't want to go to jail.
Okay, even by your standards, this is far too edgy.
In other cursed news, September also saw the reveal of the cover art for EA UFC 5.
Oh yeah, good.
This year's cover stars were allegedly Alexander Volkanovski and Valentina Shevchenko. For reference, this is Valentina Shevchenko, and this is the main character from a freemium mobile game your 4-year-old just accidentally spent $500 on. This is Max Holloway, and this is the main character in an Xbox 360 game that came free with 10 barcodes from Mountain Dew. This is Alexander...
Hey, Jay. Jay. I would much rather guys do weird shit like what Strickland did than some sus shit. You know, I like Izzy. I'm not a Strickland fan. I like Izzy, but I can't ride with you on that comparison. I'm sorry. I just cannot ride with you on that comparison.
Jimmy D.
Okay. Oh wow. She didn't cook your sausage properly? Oh man. Oh wow, Dan.
Volkanovski. Wow. And this, actually they kind of nailed it. This game cost 80 fucking euros for the base game, which, if I'm interpreting this correctly, apparently doesn't even include Valentina or Volk. And if you want those two, I guess you're paying 109 fucking euros for what is essentially a reskinned UFC 4. But hey, EA, I did you a favor and turned your cover art from a laughingstock to a multi-million seller. You're welcome. At Noche UFC, the EA curse made things personal between us when Valentina fought Alexa Grasso, a woman who mistakenly seems to think she's the flyweight champion of the world. The curse claimed its first victim in 2023, when Judge Mike Bell scored a 10-8 round for Alexa in what was an obvious 10-9. Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate Mike Bell since Noche UFC.
I am beast one is how I stand. Everybody knows that I'm a big man. Don't know defeat cause I'm the best one yet. No opponents to fight is my only friend. Seattle is my hometown, but Japan Superstar is also fast.
This gross miscarriage of justice rendered the fight a split draw, and I guess the UFC felt sorry for Grasso as they let her hold on to Valentina's belt for a while. Fellow EA cover star Volkanovski was set to rematch Islam Makhachev in October, and, well...
Foreshadowing is a narrative device.
If you think of each month of this year as being individual episodes in a series, then October was the MMA equivalent of Pine Barrens, Ozymandias, or the Battle of the Bastards. This was the kind of month where a year's worth of story and plot development all got dumped into 4 weeks.
Welcome to the recap.
Things started off with the moderately big news that McGregor was finally back in the USADA pool. After 2 years spent ingesting Overeem's personal stash, allegedly, Conor was now subject to USADA testing in preparation for a fight in 2024. Whew, exciting. But Conor's next opponent wouldn't be a fellow UFC fighter, an old man at a bar, or even a woman on his boat. No longer satisfied by beating up individuals, the very same day the announcement of his return was made, Conor fought the entire organization of USADA and won. So desperate were the UFC to get Conor back to active competition that rather than wait for the mandatory 6 months of testing and minimum of 2 negative samples, Dana thought a much better arrangement would be if USADA got the fuck out of his organization and Conor did whatever amount of inhuman growth hormones are required to make your face look yoked. Reactions from fighters were naturally fucking hilarious, with most
Devin Hollis said I was trying to get that USADA jacket though.
departure, it was going to be Pride 2.0. Everyone's favorite drug cheat, John Jones, was among the first to exclaim that he had survived USADA, and now that they were gone, his litany of drug test failures should be stricken from the record. But if I throw my computer out the window, it doesn't erase the fact that I recorded my first videos by talking into the back of a front-facing microphone. The famously level-headed Mark Hunt called Dana a scumbag gutter dog and a worthless fucking mutt. But giving as to how the UFC fed him to a steroid-engorged Brock Lesnar at UFC 200, that's probably an underreaction. The fallout from USADA's departure was seismic, with the UFC threatening USADA with legal action over their allegations that the UFC had attempted to nudge, wink, wink their way into getting Conor an exemption. It's almost like they knew there was...
everybody show some love to Blind Bat. He's not been feeling really all that good, and he had a bit of a medical event, and you know, show him some love, y'all.
Glad you're here.
You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that he was able to do what was necessary to be here with us today.
Get better, sir.
Know what I mean?
Get better.
So
welcome back, Mr. Bat.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for peeking in on the stream today as we do our year in review. Also, someone very close to you left the medical facility as well.
She did.
So
thank goodness.
You know what I'm saying?
Hoping for a healthy 2024 for all.
Yep. So, you know, much love to everybody who's part of the community. We appreciate every single one of you, including the people who are not putting themselves and other people at risk. Know what I mean? So, much love. Much love. Absolutely.
And happy birthday, Jake.
No way in hell a man who looks like he's being suffocated by his own suits would pass a piss test. Welcome, friends, to the Blowy Award for Fight of the Year 2023. 2023 was a stellar year for fisting activities, with shocking upsets and bloody battles, but no one man managed to beat an entire organization into a living death, quite like Conor versus USADA. McGregor ended USADA's reign of tyranny over his bladder, and with one toxic blast of urine, an entire company was defeated. Fighters in every division are now free to wallow in more juice than the man from Del Monte's toilet bowl. And we owe it all to Conor. Conor, for your role in helping turn the UFC into a steroid-blasting free-for-all, your fight with USADA is our fight of the year.
How do you like them apples?
Post-Conor v USADA madness, UFC 294 had a tough time on its hands making any headlines, but with multiple last-minute opponent changes and a card that was filled with wall-to-wall weirdness, 294 was one of the most memorable cards of the year. The insanity began in the prelims, when Victor Henry was the recipient of the worst low blow of the year.
Oh god, guys.
Oh shit, another award already? Okay, hang on. Welcome, friends, to the Keith Hackney Award for Most Egregious Low Blow. At UFC 295, Victor Henry zigged when he should have zagged, and caught a thigh kick where there was no thigh. His opponent, Javid Basharat, appeared to be trying to ensure that this is where the Henry bloodline ends, and planted his foot squarely in the knackers. But while there were wilder dick shots such as Schrodinger's dick punch at Fame MMA, what makes Henry special was how the ringside doctor tried to gaslight Henry, despite the roiling sickness in his gut and pain radiating from his balls like the icy winds of a Norse hell. He in fact hadn't been kicked in the balls.
Okay. See you, man. See you next year.
Oh no, come on, man. All dick and balls.
All dick and balls. Oh man, son. I'm sorry. I hate this referee, man.
And the doc.
I mean, I'm talking about the doc. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Dan, thank y'all. Thank you so much, Dan, for coming through, man. It's weird that your work starts at 9 o'clock at night, but
No, doesn't he work at a? I forgot where he was.
well, he says work is calling.
Yep.
So
Well, he is boss man, so
Yeah.
he is always on call.
yeah, yep. As you've known over the last few weeks, I've been on call.
Yes.
A lot too.
Being kicked in the balls.
I'm sorry, that really makes me bad. I really want.
He in fact hadn't been
wanna get
kicked in the
text on
balls.
screen. There we go.
I really, guys. This is when the other side of me starts to come out.
Yeah, so that's why he's always on call.
Um,
They're open late.
I think the doctor should have been brought out to the public square and gotten kicked by Javed Basharat.
Mm.
Right on the inner thigh.
Mm.
And then be made to tell us how it wasn't his balls.
Mm-hmm. As he's vomiting blood. Yeah. You're not vomiting blood. That's water coming out of your body.
With red food dye.
Uh-huh. No.
Yeah, this one really triggering.
Mm.
Was it my balls? No, it wasn't your ball. You didn't kick your ball. Oh no, come on.
Didn't kick your balls.
Thank you for telling me where I got hit.
All dick and balls.
I'm sorry, that's funny as shit. That part is it's all dick and balls. I really believe that doctor should have to endure being kicked in his dick.
I hope they fired him. I mean, after
He should lose his medical
balls.
license.
Yeah,
Like, seriously.
that's unsafe.
Like, dude. Really.
And now the doctor's gonna tell him that it didn't hit his testicles. Come on, man.
Henry,
man.
it was all dick and balls, and this award is all yours.
Maybe he wasn't
Referee
focused enough.
cock-ups weren't confined to the prelims though, as on the main card, Johnny Walker ate an illegal knee by Magomed Ankalaev. Despite Walker seemingly being okay to continue, the ringside doctor felt that Walker's inability to solve a basic algebra equation recited in ancient Sumerian was enough to wave the fight off. To add to the weirdness of 294, Mike Breeden proved he has that dog in him. When down 2 rounds to 0, he began barking at his opponent.
He can't do it in spurts.
Yeah, same fucking doc.
Proving that bestial imitation is the best base for MMA.
The doctor
Breeden
that,
won via KO in the 3rd round.
that called off the
Initially,
fight with Johnny
294 was to be
Walker, same
headlined
one
by a
that told me
rematch
that
between
died.
Charles Oliveira and Islam
I'm saying. I remember that
Makhachev,
being,
but
like, the
Oliveira
main
pulled
card
out due
was
to
awful,
injury. On
but it
2
was
weeks'
really
notice,
exciting prelim.
Alexander Volkanovski
Actually,
stepped up
even
to take his
worse.
place, presumably
Like the part
after
that we
stepping
actually
on a
paid
box
for
first.
was the
In the
worst part.
co-main, Hamzat Chimaev was set to face Paulo Costa, but Costa was pulled from the fight suffering from a staph infection. Former welterweight goat Kamaru Usman stepped in on short notice, and suddenly 294 was a far better card than it had been in its original iteration. The Hamzat hype train was, if not derailed, then at least slightly delayed, when he gassed out after one round. And
I'm going to disagree with Blown Apart here. Why does everybody keep seeming to forget that he couldn't even throw his right hand anymore because he, I think he tore a ligament in his hand. He thought it was a break. He thought he had broken his hand. But he had torn connective tissue in his hand in round 1. Like, why do people keep saying he gassed out? I don't understand that. I mean, we've seen other guys break their hand and then not be able to throw it. It happened to Kevin Holland against Wonderboy.
Yes.
Did he gas out because he couldn't throw the hand anymore? Why is everybody so quick to forget that Chimaev suffered a hand injury in the first round of that fight?
Of a 5-round fight.
Yeah, and he stayed in there. I think it was 3 rounds. It was 3 rounds.
3 rounds?
Okay. Yeah, it was a 3-round fight.
And only managed to scrape a decision over a man who was both making his middleweight debut and stepping in on
Does that mean Moreno? Does that mean that he gassed out too?
Islam scored a brutal head kick knockout, but head kicks are slightly less impressive when your opponent has to stand on his tiptoes to look you square in the navel. October was a big month for Clown World Boxing. Under normal circumstances, a KSI boxing match would be further off my radar than a fucking stealth bomber. But KSI versus Tommy Fury was notable for the fact that it was a card so genuinely abysmal that it may finally be the death knell for Clown World Boxing. Yeah, look, so I says to him, if you don't find the Cleve Solace before the next blood moon, it's not going to be my balls they sacrifice to Kron Krug. Oh, hang on, shit, I'll call you back.
Yeah, we're gonna
welcome, friends, to the Krusty the Clown Award for Worst Influencer Boxing Match. The co-main event of Fury vs KSI was a fight so truly detestable that it very well may herald the end times of influencer boxing. Dylan Dennis fought Logan Paul, but whether you can actually call anything he did fighting is still up for debate. Dennis landed less significant strikes than Dana White did on his wife-slapping world tour, with a grand total of 9 punches for the entire fight. Staring down the prospect of a humiliating loss after all of his shit-talking, Dennis said, "You can't fire me, I quit," and got himself disqualified by attempting a guillotine, a takedown, and inciting a mass brawl. Embarrassingly for Dennis, his takedown was about as effective as his striking, and his guillotine was about as effective as his takedown. And Logan, don't think you're getting off that easily either, as despite windmilling harder than a Dutch landscape, you were barely able to put a dent in a man Ben Askren could probably banish to the land of wind and ghosts. Dylan, your MMA career was a blight on the sport, but if nothing else, we're grateful that blight has spread and put the cracks in the foundation of influencer boxing. And before we get into the real meat of October, I'd just like to very briefly bring up the sheer insanity that is Mike Jackson versus Pat Miletich. Mike, the CM Punk Killer Jackson, fought 57-year-old Hall of Famer Miletich. The fight was a grudge match after Jackson wrote an article highlighting Miletich's involvement in the January 6th riots in DC. Miletich subsequently lost his job as a color commentator for LFA, and the two settled it in the cage of an Iowan bum league. Although settled is a strong term for Jackson getting wrestle-humped for 2 rounds before the 57-year-old Miletich quit on his stool in the 2nd round. Yeah, the real news of October.
So that happened after the 2nd round. It was very, very weird when I read about this fight, y'all, because, you know, Miletich is militant in his, you know, alt-right, you know, Trump cocksucking. It is the difference between a Trump supporter and a Trump cocksucker. And Miletich, Dana White, Colby Covington, they're all in the cocksucker.
They're in the gargling.
Yeah. They're gargling all of his bronzer. They got bronzer on their tongue. He was whooping this Black Power guy's ass. He was whooping his ass and got tired of whooping his ass. But toward the end of it, Jackson Jackson started actually kind of, coming back. Like it was almost like he, we've seen like fighters come back at the end of fights that they were clearly losing. Mike Jackson was coming back and was starting to land some shots on him toward the end of the round. And then Miletich was like, yeah, I think I'm done, and took the L. But wasn't it his ilk that say, these colors don't run? And that motherfucker didn't get off the stool in a fight he was winning. That's weird. That was really fucking weird.
Time to retire.
Jeremy Lewis. Yo. Side note. Jeremy Lewis and Otis, they went to an event, an AEW event together. That was cool.
That was cool.
That was fucking cool. Shout out to you guys. Yes, that was a good side note, right?
That was a good side note. Still got the photo too.
Side windmilling harder than a Dutch landscape. Thoughts on Bo Nickel winning Rookie of the Year, but not Diego Lopez. Bo Nickel comes in with a lot of hype, and he is an American white man. So it's more marketable to the target demographic of the UFC. Also, a little bit more credit to Bo Nickel. If you know his story, he did not start MMA training until very recently. So no one really gives a shit about Diego Lopez, if we're being honest. And I think that is probably the issue. I guess the guys can answer this question for you. I do like the feud between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. But the rest of it, I really don't care. It seems like MJF has a legitimate hip injury. I don't know. I just... JL said, give him 2 bones. Yeah, I mean, you know how the UFC does, with guys that they like, So, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Was Ngannou versus Fury. For years now, we've endured the sight of MMA fighters so far past their prime they need a Mariner's Astrolabe to find it, getting ethered by Jake Paul. The narrative that MMA fighters simply can't transition to boxing was one that was starting to take hold. But with Ngannou versus Fury, that question would be put to bed once and for all. Here we had Ngannou, still in his prime, versus the best heavyweight boxer of his generation. If Ngannou's outing was as ill-fated as those of Askren, Woodley or Nate, then maybe Jake Paul is right, and MMA fighters just suck at striking. After months of speculation and a not inconsiderable amount of ridicule from fans and pundits, Ngannou finally faced Fury on the 28th of October. In one of the biggest illegal streams of the year, Ngannou didn't just do well for an MMA fighter, he stood toe-to-toe with the heavyweight boxing champion, scored a knockdown, and took rounds from him. In terms of MMA to boxing crossovers, despite the fact that he ultimately lost a decision, Ngannou's was the most successful by a vast margin.
Francis just thinks that he's in a position where he's got some Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight on his hands, which he does not. Where he could fight lesser opponents and make more money. Francis wants to take 0 risks. Doesn't want to take any chances. PFL's going to pay this guy to train for a boxing match that may not even happen and that they might not even be involved in. How does that make any sense?
Immediately post-fight, Jake Paul called out Ngannou for a match No, I'm just kidding. We all know Jake only fights people old enough to have owned an Atari 2600.
The fun is back. Oh, yes, sirree. It's the 2600 from Atari. It's the video system with classics galore. From Space Invaders to cars that roar. A real hip joystick controls the screen. Solaris is hot and Midnight Magic's mean. And one more thing, it's got a special low price. Under $50. $50? Now, isn't that nice? The fun is back. Oh, yes, sirree. It's the 2600 from Atari.
November began with the news that
there's a lot of reasons why I wanted to bring this guy. Yo,
when the PFL
it probably costs a lot more now.
And merged into the corporate entity known as PFLator. PFLator opened up all kinds of exciting avenues for PFL stars to fight Bellator stars, such as Jake Paul versus Ryan Bader, Jake Paul versus Kayla Harrison, Jake Paul versus Tito Ortiz, and Jake Paul versus Ken Shamrock, the man who puts the mid in middleweight, the Shadow the Hedgehog of MMA. Edgier than Marilyn Manson's streaming hatred, Sean Strickland was back in the news for suitably edgy reasons.
So edgy.
Strickland decided to voice his incredibly edgy opinion about women in MMA.
Female MMA. It's like watching children fight. It's fun, but we all know it's trash. They only have a job because they know when to put heels on and take off their clothes.
Jesus Christ, Shadow, what the fuck?
Maybe I do belong in the kitchen.
Strickland shat forth nuggets of wisdom, such as female fighters only exist because men want.
Anybody wants to argue with Sean Strickland here, though? Especially when you're talking about Paige Van Zandt and Michelle Waterson. And I was a Michelle Waterson fan. But can we be honest, guys? Jeremy's losing his mind. It's really hard. And the thing is, Sean Strickland makes it difficult for people to like Sean Strickland. But it's like, can we argue the actual point? Right? Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Zhang Weili. The best fight that ever happened in the UFC, male or female, in my opinion. The best fight of all time. But the drop off is very far after that. When I don't think anybody signed Zhang Weili because she's hot, because she's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he knows it. I had a whole argument with Lutch, shout out to Lutch, about the fact that I thought that Strickland crossed the line when he talked about unaliving somebody in the cage. And he got a lot of flack from other fighters for saying it, because obviously you're athletes, so you're not trying to ruin somebody's family by taking their life.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the UFC was, mixed martial arts and the UFC was only made legal in the state of New York in 2016. Why? Why do you think that is? Because of the perceived barbarism of the sport. You cannot have guys talking about, oh yeah, I want to. No, you can't do that. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You cannot say that. And that's a hill that I'm going to die on. I mean, we do see some female beatdowns, but not enough to say women's MMA is anything short of a bathroom break. I mean, and you know, sadly, most of the time you see the women win, they're the ones that try to act the most like men. Mm-hmm. And we need to be honest about the fact that even inside the cage, We don't want to look at ugly wannabe man women. You know, nobody watches the WNBA no matter what ESPN tries to influence you into believing. No one gives a fuck. Rapinoe proved that women have the same right to embarrass themselves as any man does. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, they lose almost every time. And it makes me sad. But, and I've never been somebody that puts like a lot of, I've never been a person that really puts a lot of stock into women's looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it sucks to see almost every time they lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Welcome to Rescure.
Hello.
Yeah. It's 187. Okay? Red rum backwards. Yeah. It's YouTube intimidation. That's what it is. Shout out to our guy Sonny. Sonny, we got to give some love to Sonny. This happened before. I believe this happened before. I don't know if this happened in 2023. I think it happened in 2022.
When he helped with the boost.
But he's the guy that helped us get over the 1,000 subscriber mark. He put our links I think on a Reddit post.
Yeah.
And I guess there's a Reddit thread for people who just altruistically just say, hey, let's try to help these people get their numbers up.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny did that for the platform, you know?
And we were all shocked that morning, literally waking up to the numbers going, bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
We were like, what video was it? What's happening?
Yeah, we had no idea what was going on. We thought it was a glitch. And, you know, I guess Sonny is kind of a glitch, isn't he? Shout out to Sonny, y'all.
Thank you, Sonny.
But back to this. Paige Van Zandt was not signed because she was a high-level fighter. She lost a bunch of fights in the UFC, and then Bare Knuckle signed her. Now, we have to give Paige some credit for being willingly wanting to go into a cage and destroy her looks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Like Luke Shatterjaw.
Hope they have good dental.
I mean, no, her whole face was busted up. Her whole face. Bare Knuckle's hard to watch, y'all. I'm not going to front. So you got to give her credit for being willing to get in there with gloves on and without and get her face fucking torched. Women's MMA is lame. It's more lame than not. I'm not going to say that it's all the way lame, but a lot of the fights I don't give a fuck about. But not you, baby. Angela.
Phil. Yeah. We need her to win more.
Yeah. We need her to win more. We also need her to actually stop somebody. I'll take a rear naked choke submission.
Cement in her fists.
Okay, this is Angela is the hill that I'm willing to die on. Okay, guys. David Banner. He always has to remind me that he's black. Men will pay more to see you naked than to watch you fight. Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
Want to fuck them? And 7 times UFC champion Valentina Shevchenko.
Valentina, you lost to a girl. Oh, wait. Valentina says, interesting unpack here. Obviously, the luster off of Valentina's beauty is, you know, the feminism comes out. Is like, interesting unpack here. That looks more like an offended kid who got less money in his entire fighter career than female fighters do. Good try. Maybe UFC will see that and add some cash to your purse next time. So he's not talking about the fight purses, Valentina. He's talking about the quality of the fights. That's what he's talking about. And his response is, Valentina, you lost to a girl who pulls guard. You look like you learned striking from a YouTube video. He's wrong on that. He's all the way wrong on that. Valentina's top level. It's like watching children fight. It's fun, but we all know it's trash. You only have a job because you know when to put heels on and take off your clothes. Ouch. Now, I don't think that applies to Valentina, but we have seen her market herself in sexual ways. Right? So, do you have to blurt out your search history on the internet? Is that necessary?
In case you were wondering.
She says, I'm not black, but they love trotting out Paige Van Zandt saves all those Reebok events when they did the clothes. Yeah. Yep. And then people were not allowed to have patches of sponsors on the uniforms anymore. But, you know, the UFC cares about its fighters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So Valentina walked face first into this, but it doesn't mean that Sean is right. I think Sean is wrong. Valentina is the only problem that I've had with Valentina over the years is that she does the same combo over and over and over and over and over again. 1-2 high kick, 1-2 high kick, 1-2 high kick. That's really my only. And Alexa Grasso was lucky to catch her with the spinning back fist attempt.
Yeah.
She was also lucky that there was a judge not watching the fight.
Yeah. He went on a bathroom break.
So.
Okay. Looks like she learned to strike by watching YouTube videos and only has a job because she knows when to put heels on and take her clothes off. But Sean is probably right, because who else would have such a vast knowledge of terrible fights than a man who spent the first 8 years of his career without making it out of the prelims and fight night cards? At UFC Vegas 82, another woman who totally sucks and should realistically be making me a grilled cheese right now, Amanda Hebus, scored a devastating knockout via spinning wheel kick to the face. And that's 100% more spinning wheel kick knockouts than Deshaun Decision Strickland has on his resume, so maybe he could ask her for some pointers. November. What else happened in November? Not much, if I'm being honest, and really, November was like 2 weeks ago. Do you really need me to recap what happened in easily recallable memory? If you need me to tell you what happened...
Melted Mime says, oh my god, Evil, go back. You said her only combo, and she does it while training. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And 7 times UFC champion Valentina Shevchenko looks like she learned to strike by watching YouTube videos and only has a job because she knows when to put heels on and take her clothes off.
What?
But Sean is probably right, because who else would have such a vast knowledge of terrible fights than a man who...
You know, it's funny that you say this. If women did not constantly display their sexuality, and I'm talking about in all areas of public life, most people wouldn't care. And I say people and not men, because it just so happens that women don't really support other women. Case in point, the WNBA. They don't showcase femininity, much less sexuality. Not only do the men not care, but other women do not care. Now, the feminists will say they need, you know, the MVP of the WNBA needs to get the same money as LeBron James. But they won't go to the games, they won't buy jerseys, they won't buy concessions, and they won't watch on TV. But what female-led endeavors do other women actually like, what female-led, like, movies, music do women actually support? All the sex-driven nonsense. Thank you, Catherine, for hanging out with us.
Hi, Catherine. Happy New Year.
Women will only support stuff where women are showing off their sexuality. So,
boobs.
You know, like, come on.
Who spent the first 8 years of his career without making it out of the prelims and fight night cards. At UFC Vegas 82, another woman who totally sucks and should realistically be making me a grilled cheese right now, Amanda Hebus, scored a devastating knockout via spinning wheel kick to the face. And that's 100% more spinning wheel kick knockouts than Deshaun Decision Strickland has on his resume. So maybe he could ask her for some pointers. November. What else happened in November? Not much, if I'm being honest, and really, November was like 2 weeks ago. Do you really need me to recap what happened in easily recallable memory? If you need me to tell you what happened 2 weeks ago, then I'm afraid you have problems this video cannot resolve. So that's it. This video is already 3 times longer than last year's end of year video.
Well, he did it the smart way. He did it the smart way. Shout out to him. You know, it was a really great video, but
very well done.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to be watching a lot more of we're going to be watching a lot more.
Where's my grilled cheese?
Incidentally enough, I probably will be eating one today.
He gets a grilled cheese almost every day.
But a little bit of bonus footage for you guys.
Bonus, much shorter one.
A
bonus.
Yeah. But I'm gonna focus on this one situation. I'm just gonna focus on this one clip. That I just thought was absolutely ridiculous, y'all.
Well, I'll also link to the second video.
Yeah.
Once this is done. There is a second video.
Yeah. You want to show off your t-shirt?
Oh. Yes.
Speaking of
this way.
Sexuality and people.
It's a great tea. My mom got it for me.
Yep.
She's a weirdo.
Yep.
Just where I got
Shout
it
out
from.
to her mom. My mom. So guys, check this out.
Yeah, you should get it for her.
All right, so check this out, guys.
Thank you, Milton Mike.
It's going to be I could not believe this when I saw this, because we actually had a copyright strike leveled on us last year because of a clip that we played off of Twitter. This referee let this guy get caught in a triangle and left him in the triangle.
Yeah.
For like, I think we counted the seconds. It was like almost 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was really upsetting.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I thought that that would be the very last time I would ever see anything like that. Again, shout out to Napoleon for this.
Our first award, the Steve Mazzagatti Award for Excellence in Refereeing Incompetence. At Fury FC in March of this year, referee Frank Colazzo put on a performance Mazzagatti himself would have considered a bit much. After Gianni Vasquez was put to sleep with a triangle, referee Colazzo wasn't impressed and demanded more skulls for the skull throne. He let the fight continue, despite Vasquez napping like he was in cryogenic stasis. But don't take my word for it, listen to the panicked screams of the commentary team as they realize what's happening.
He's breathing like he's asleep. Look at his leg. He's out. He is out.
He's out. I think he's asleep. He's out.
Yep.
No, yeah. No. Yeah, he's out. Wow. He's out. Frank, he's out. He's out. He's out. Frank, what? Oh my gosh, Frank, it's done. Frank, it's done.
And then he breaks his arm. And he's unconscious. He's unconscious as he's tapping.
So it's crazy. Tap. Oh my gosh.
It's like, no, the arm needs to be ripped out of
Frank
the socket.
Calazzo, congratulations. Your flagrant disregard for human life means you are the worst referee of 2023.
Yeah. That really pissed me off, man. That actually made me feel quite emotional.
Don't close that tab.
Yeah.
Link it later.
I mean, wow. I did not know that actually happened. Yo, Captain Paul is such a piece of shit. That was just...
Alright. Link to both videos now in the description if anyone wants to refresh.
Yeah,
Jimmy Dean was flabbergasted.
Yeah, and the thing that was so upsetting about it is that he's unconscious and his nervous system is autonomously trying to tap.
Yeah.
His nervous system is reaching for his arm. He's completely unconscious, and his body knows that something bad is happening and is trying to stop something bad happening to his arm. Yeah. And the referee is just standing there like...
You dead yet?
I mean, the referee should have said this. Sorry for the inactivity.
See you, Jay. Happy New Year.
You know, like... Come on, man. Come on. Come on, man. You know, we saw a lot of crazy shit over the last month in the UFC as well. I think that one of the things that stands out to me this year was how poor the judging was this year. I mean, the refereeing wasn't too bad this year. There were a couple of like bad mistakes made by Dan Miragliotta. He made a bad mistake. Herb Dean made a couple. Keith Peterson made one. That was pretty not good.
Yeah.
But you know, it doesn't happen all that often. You know? And it's like, you know, but the judges.
The judges were the worst.
And we're talking about, we would have multiple bullshit scorecards turned in multiple consecutive events going back to like November of the previous year. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yep. And it's sad that we have to say you can't leave it to the judges because we don't expect them to do their jobs.
Yeah, you know, and again, Valentina should be holding the belt right now. You know?
Sorry, I'm just reading his comment.
Valentina should be holding the belt right now. Corey Sandhagen had the funniest fucking look on his face when he heard the 48-47 for Vera. Like, Vera spent the entire fucking match getting his face drummed on like a fucking piñata.
That means you're winning.
I think Sandhagen won a 49-46.
I'm sure someone has a video. We're not going to look for it right
now. Or 50-45. I think he
worse scorecards.
Yeah, let me look, cuz
sorry. We'll start keeping track of that next year.
Like,
there will be more. I see her troll in the comments.
Well, I want to see the actual scorecard.
Oops, UFC.com.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we're going to share this with you, okay?
You want to... Right here.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Corey Sanhagen. Yeah, I did get it right. I knew I remembered this. Chris Lee, who was the one that scored a 10-8 round for Grasso in a clear 10-9 round. 49-46 Sanhagen. 50-45 Sanhagen. 48-47 Vera? How does that work? Seriously, how does that work? Sanhagen, guys, somebody scored this 48-47 Vera. Sanhagen, 187 of 378 for 49.5% striking accuracy. Marlon Vera, less than half the total strikes. It's 73 of 1. He threw less strikes than Sanhagen landed.
Damn. Same for significant strikes and...
Sanhagen had 3 takedowns. Marlon failed on 1 attempt. Tell me, where did he win 3 rounds?
Those are winning numbers. Play lotto.
You know, like, come on. Like, it looked like the judges were playing Candy Crush. He easily beats him in 3 rounds if he used golfing metrics.
Totally makes sense.
Oh, man. So, yeah. Shout out to Captain Paul. Hopefully, he'll join us for more Filthy Casual MMA. Captain Paul's going back to work on the boat soon. So, you know, I think he's getting over an illness himself. So, we hope the best for Captain Paul as well. Yeah, it's just a lot of weird shit going on in the world, y'all, and MMA. And again, I'm very happy that somebody put a really great year in review together.
Yeah.
Because that, you know, this is fucking cool, y'all.
That was an awesome video.
Yeah, but it also reminds us like why we love the sport. Even with all the controversies and unlikable characters.
Still some really great fights, though.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's not all bad fights and bad scorecards and bad refereeing.
Right.
It's just that those are pretty egregious.
Yeah. I don't really think that I know that there was a lot of controversy for Fighter of the Year and Fight of the Year and all that stuff. No fighter really stood out to me this year. Not like in past years. You know, when Kevin Holland, you know, fought all those times in 1 year, and Chimaev fought, you know, 3 times in 3 days, and all that. You know, obviously I'm exaggerating, but
yeah.
You know, there was not really one fighter that really stood out to me. You know, we lost a whole bunch of fucking champions. Long-time champions. So, it's very difficult to say, wow, that guy was so great. You know, your 205 champ was your 185 champ, but he got knocked out by a guy that that he outweighs by 25 pounds, 30 pounds. So I don't know, man.
Year of retirement.
Yeah, I just Wonder Boy got humped to death multiple times. Tony Ferguson just couldn't get right. My guy Poirier got his head kicked off, and he was defending too. He was defending, and he still got his head kicked off.
And got people elbowed. Herb Dean doing his best.
Islam Makhachev won in the most unimpressive fashion that we've seen from a champion.
Yeah. It's also been the year of forgettable champions.
That's what I'm saying.
I forgot that he was champion, and then another dude who I don't even remember who's champion.
O'Malley became champion this year, and I think he only fought like one time this year.
Well, that one was not forgettable. I remember that he's champion, but some other champions, I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot about that belt.
Yeah, when we went to that wedding in October, that was the Piotr Jan fight that he won. That I called a draw. And he got a title shot off of that and only fought one time this year. Oh, wow. Dan Jensen is happy that you're not here. Or that he's not here. But yeah, yeah, a lot of weird shit. A lot of weird shit this year.
Still been a great year anyway. We had some awesome streams.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
I think we covered every event this year.
Every Saturday this
except
year.
for maybe one. I think we were both traveling.
Yeah. If we were able to have at least one person cover it, we had someone cover it. If we could.
Well, USADA is no longer testing anybody as of tomorrow. My melted mine. Tomorrow is probably the last sample that USADA will take. Now they probably stopped taking samples already.
So it's gonna be a roided up 2024.
Well, I actually saw an article about hold on a second. Yeah, so let me show this to you guys. Yeah, let me show this to you guys real quick before we start signing off.
Carbon.
He showed up at the end of the stream. Okay. UFC releases full details for new anti-doping program launching in 2024. After cutting ties with USADA. UFC sent a message to fighters after releasing full details around the new revamped anti-doping program that launches on December 31. The updated drug testing program kicks off the new year after the UFC cut ties with the United States Anti-Doping Agency in an ugly breakup. While there are a few minor details that differentiate the new UFC anti-doping program from the old version, most of the major sticking points remain exactly the same as before. Perhaps the biggest change for fighters will be the testing agents seeking them out to collect samples. Under the new program, the UFC employed Drug Free Sport International. That sounds like some fucking Walmart branded bullshit. Same agency that handles drug testing samples for the NFL and Major League Baseball, which, if we're being dudes are still kind of juiced up in baseball, you know, to collect samples from the 600 plus fighters on the roster, according to the UFC. Drug Free Sport International employs over 5,000 collection personnel worldwide, which will help with greater global coverage than it had under the prior program. Athletes are subjected to random unannounced testing 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Assholes let people sleep. Once the samples are collected, Sports Medicine and Research Testing Laboratory, based in Utah, will handle the testing. SMRTL, sounds like some alphabet soup, is a World Anti-Doping Agency accredited lab headed up by Dr. Daniel Eichner. That sounds pretty racist. A world-renowned anti-doping scientist who has also testified at past hearings involving fighters from the UFC, including a case involving reigning heavyweight champion Jon Jones, after he dealt with a litany of issues following a past failed drug test. If a sample tested by the lab comes back positive and a fighter faces potential punishment as a result, Combat Sports Anti-Doping, an entity funded by the UFC, will handle those sanctions, which you know will be full of bullshit.
The Oppenheimer of anti-doping.
Exactly. Sounds very German. CSAD will be headed up by retired FBI agent George Puro, who previously came to fame as the lead agent responsible for interrogating Saddam Hussein before they hung him from a rope and then opened up the floor beneath him. Puro, a noted Brazilian jiu-jitsu enthusiast who trains out of American Top Team. So when those guys test positive, we'll never know about it.
Nah.
If Team Alpha Male, I don't know, man. I don't like this. I don't like this.
Steroid weight class.
Jeremy Lewis is our kind of asshole. Does it remind you of the movie we just watched?
You guys are awful. The fact that he says he always asks her. Did she curse you out in German when you asked that question?
Let's not get started on that. As far as the rules for the program, nothing much changed with the new policy, including rules surrounding fighters joining the UFC roster or athletes coming out of retirement, which requires 6 months of testing before being allowed to compete again. That rule took center stage in the breakup between the UFC and USADA after former two-division champion Conor McGregor dropped out of the anti-doping program while recovering from a broken leg suffered in his last outing in 2021. McGregor eventually re-entered the UFC's anti-doping program, but USADA claimed the relationship became untenable due to statements made that questioned USADA's principled stance that he needed to undergo 6 months of testing before fighting again. The UFC fired back in emphatic fashion, stating that McGregor never blinked at doing the required 6 months of testing, and a split with USADA was already in the works long before the situation came to a head.
Sure.
But we had already heard McGregor talking about fighting before the end of the year, which was mathematically impossible if he was going to do the whole 6 months in the testing field. Fucking bullshit. Yeah, I would definitely not love it as much, Cap, if they just had everybody roided up. I really want to put that on the screen, but I can't.
You know he's chuckling too.
He couldn't have blinked. He was too coked up. Hey! Soon after the UFC announced details about the new anti-doping program that launches in 2024. As part of the new program, the UFC also confirmed that the banned substance list available to fighters will still be much the same under the guidance of WADA. The only differences will be the examples listed below, which details a few substances and levels found in a drug test that won't automatically result in punishment being handed down. And basically is anything that Jon Jones would use. These changes allow the program to differentiate between intentional use cases of prohibited substances and cases stemming from unintentional exposure to low-level contaminants and the drugs of choice for Jon Jones and Conor McGregor. Clomiphene 0.1 nanograms per milliliter squared. Dihydrochloromethyl testosterone, or DHCMT, long-term metabolite M3. John Jones. SARMs at 0.1 nanograms per deciliter. GW 1516. Again, and trenbolone sandwiches, pretty much. So you can't take Tren. There are a few other differences regarding SARMs, hegemine, IVs, injections, and substances of abuse. But again, nothing different from the previous version of the anti-doping program. Full list is found over here. You guys want to check that out? That's your goddamn business. Nah, he's already taken enough L's, Cap. Under the UFC anti-doping program, any fighter testing positive at or below the limit set for the substances listed will be flagged as an atypical finding but won't immediately result in sanctions. Ultimately, CSAD will still handle the atypical findings as well as tracking testing history of fighters in the UFC. The UFC will also launch a new whereabouts platform, which fighters are required to keep updated so testing agents can find them to collect samples. UFC promised the new system is much more user-friendly than the previous version handled by USADA. So I do believe that we are going to see a lot of corruption in this system. You're going to see that trusted authorities will collect the samples and read the samples and produce readings for these samples. But then the UFC is going to say, well, this guy is marketable, thus he's not guilty.
And he falls within this new range that says it's okay.
Well, we're going to see guys falling outside the range, but as long as, you know, so before we get a third community guideline strike that removes the channel from YouTube, we are going to do our housekeeping for the last show of the year. Dan Jensen immediately dropped a super chat on us. JL came in with the stream sponsorship. So really, really, thank you guys for supporting the platform all year long. I'm very grateful. Chelsea Handler Sprint. JL brought that up.
When she ran across
one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in the cage. Yeah. That was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen in the octagon. She actually turned and ran. And the unified rules of MMA, again, ref, what the fuck are you doing? As soon as she turned her back and started running, he should have waved off the fight. Because that is a TKO due to timidity. That is a timidity disqualification TKO. That was really, really crazy. I cannot believe that happened. The career. Milton Mine brought this up. He can't spell Korean, but just rip all the way.
You know what he meant.
Rip all the way. I was sad to see him go, but I really didn't want to see my guy lose either. So
he went out guns blazing.
Yeah, he did. And if you're gonna go out like that. But yeah, I'm just unhappy that TKZ is no longer part of the ranks of the professional fighters, so I just don't understand. You can't see Melted's comments. This is an older comment. This is from earlier. Also from Melted, UFC 292, Wei Li versus Amanda Lemos is my favorite female fight of the year. It was a good fight. Lemos made a lot of stupid mistakes, but Wei Li also made a lot of stupid mistakes in that fight too. So, the super sticker from 3M, thank you so much. Know what I mean? Jeremy Lewis dropped a couple of dollars, $2 holler on us. Dan Jensen dropped another one on us. But JL actually ends up the stream sponsor today.
Thank you, sir.
Unless somebody drops something. Unless somebody drops something on us before we leave. And obviously we have to ring out the year the same way that we ring out every show. And thank you to Dan Jensen for this. You guys already know what it is. And it's even more important now because at that time of the year where people make bad mistakes and oh man. Corin. That's good. Rescue. That's good.
Well, we're also glad that Jeremy is okay. And
Yeah.
that you walked away.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah, of course.
Please stay safe.
Stay safe. Your insurance is going up though. Don't remind me, man. Don't remind me. But anyway, we're going to ring out this show and ring out the year the same way that we ring out every show. And that is with the wise, sage words of the anti-workers' rights leader, Dan Jensen. And he states, y'all be safe out there in the real world. See, this is bullshit, Jeremy. Don't tell me this shit. You're
You just did the party words.
No.
Oh boy.
They raised my car insurance for me just simply existing, not getting in accidents. I mean,
Happy New Year, guys.
I'm just gonna
See ya. Thank you.